The Force binds all things across the galaxy, connecting every living being in an invisible web of energy and destiny. For 1,000 generations, the Jedi have been its guardians, interpreting its will and maintaining balance. But what happens when something arrives that exists completely outside that ancient tapestry? What happens when raw, physical power, forged in the crucible of a dead world orbiting a yellow sun, tears through the fabric of space itself and crashes into a galaxy that has never known anything like it? The Battle of Christophsis had been raging for 3 standard weeks. Republic clone troopers held defensive positions throughout the crystalline city while Separatist droid armies pressed forward in relentless waves. Jedi generals Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker commanded the Republic forces, their lightsabers flashing blue against the endless blaster fire. The planet's strategic location made it invaluable. Whoever controlled Christophsis controlled a vital hyperspace route to the Outer Rim. Neither army was prepared for what happened next. At 1,347 hours, both side sensors detected an anomaly. Not a hyperspace signature. Not a ship entering real space. Something else entirely, a tear in the fabric of space itself, bleeding radiation that registered on no known spectrum. Clone Commander Cody's voice crackled through Obi-Wan's comlink. "General, we're reading massive energy discharge in Grid 77. It's not Separatist, it's not anything in our database." Obi-Wan ignited his lightsaber, scanning the crystal towers. "Anakin, do you sense?" "I sense nothing," Anakin interrupted, his face troubled. "The Force is blank there. Like a void." Then they saw it. A metallic object, roughly oval-shaped and no larger than a compact starfighter, screaming through Christophsis' atmosphere at impossible velocity. It wasn't slowing. It wasn't maneuvering. It was falling, trailing fire and lightning in something that looked like frozen space itself. Reality fracturing in its wake. The pod, because that's what it had to be, some kind of escape craft, impacted 3 kilometers from the Republic forward position. The shockwave shattered crystal spires for blocks in every direction. Droids and clones alike were thrown from their feet. The explosion registered 7.3 on the seismic scale. For exactly 4 seconds, the entire battlefield went silent. Obi-Wan was already running, Master Yoda's teachings echoing in his mind, "Always in motion, the future is." But blind spots exist, places the Force cannot see. He'd never encountered one before. Now one had literally crashed into the middle of a war zone. "Anakin, secure the perimeter. Nobody approaches that crater, Republic or Separatist, until we know what we're dealing with." "Already on it, Master." Anakin's voice carried that familiar edge of excitement and recklessness that made Obi-Wan both proud and perpetually anxious. "But the Seps are moving too. We've got vulture droids inbound." The crater was still glowing when Obi-Wan arrived, the crystalline ground superheated and partially liquefied. Through the smoke and steam, he could make out the pod's hull, metal unlike any alloy he recognized, covered in symbols that weren't Orbesh or any language in the Republic database. The craft was breached, its hull torn open from the inside. Something had survived the impact. Something had forced its way out. Obi-Wan extended his awareness into the Force, seeking any trace of the pilot. Still nothing. The void persisted, a blank space where life should register. Yet his instincts, honed through years of combat, screamed that he wasn't alone. "Hello?" he called out, deactivating his lightsaber as a gesture of peace. "I am Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi of the Galactic Republic. You've crashed in an active combat zone. If you're injured, we can provide medical." The figure emerged from behind a collapsed crystal formation, and Obi-Wan's words died in his throat. He was humanoid. Roughly 2 meters tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a skin-tight suit of blue and red with a strange symbol on his chest, an angular S enclosed in a diamond. His cape was tattered, singed at the edges. Dark hair fell across a face that was humanoid enough but somehow, other. The being's eyes glowed faintly red, like cooling metal fresh from a forge. "Where am I?" the stranger asked in accented basic, his voice carrying harmonics that suggested vocal cords not quite human. "This isn't." He looked up at the sky, at the unfamiliar star patterns, at the twin moons visible in the daytime sky. "This isn't my galaxy." Before Obi-Wan could respond, a Separatist tri-fighter screamed overhead, its laser cannons targeting the crater. The Jedi's lightsaber was halfway ignited when the stranger simply moved. One moment he was standing in the crater. The next, he was airborne, not jumping, but flying with no visible means of propulsion, intercepting the tri-fighter. His fist connected with the droid starfighter's nose, and the entire craft crumpled like flimsy, spiraling into a controlled crash 200 meters away. The stranger descended slowly, touching down beside Obi-Wan with impossible grace. "Sorry. I saw it targeting civilians in those buildings." He gestured to the crystal towers where Christophsis' remaining population sheltered. "Are you all right?" Obi-Wan stared. In 20 years as a Jedi, he'd seen Force users move objects, leap great distances, even briefly levitate. He'd never seen anyone fly. He'd never seen anyone destroy a military craft with their bare hands. Yes. Thank you." Obi-Wan's tactical mind raced through implications. "What are you?" The stranger's glowing eyes dimmed to a more normal appearance, blue, startlingly human despite everything else. A tired smile crossed his face. "My name is Kal-El. But most people where I'm from call me Superman." He looked down at his hands, flexing his fingers experimentally. "And I think I'm very, very far from home." Behind them, more Separatist forces were mobilizing. Anakin's voice crackled urgently through the comlink, "Master, we've got company. Dooku's command ship just entered orbit, and they're deploying drop ships to your position. Whatever you found, the Separatists want it badly." Obi-Wan looked at this Superman, this being who flew without the Force, who destroyed war machines with his fists, who registered as nothing in the living energy that connected all things. The Republic needed every advantage in this war. The Jedi needed to understand what this newcomer represented. But standing in that crater, watching this stranger's expression shift from confusion to determination as more droid forces approached, Obi-Wan Kenobi felt the first stirrings of a premonition. This wasn't just a crashed pilot. This wasn't simply another player in the galaxy's endless wars. This was something that would change everything. "Come with me," Obi-Wan said, making a decision that would echo through the Force for years to come. "We have much to discuss, and very little time." But first, he ignited his lightsaber as battle droids crested the crater's edge. "We need to survive the next few minutes." Superman's eyes began to glow red again. "I can help with that. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you." The droids opened fire. What happened next would become legend, the day the Clone Wars encountered something beyond the Force itself, and nothing would ever be quite the same. The battle droids never stood a chance. Superman moved through the Separatist formation like a Force storm given physical form, but without the telltale shimmer of telekinesis or the distinctive hum of Force-enhanced speed. He simply was faster, stronger, more durable than anything Obi-Wan had encountered in 2 decades of combat. AB-1 battle droid raised its blaster rifle, Superman crushed the weapon's barrel with 2 fingers. A super battle droid fired point-blank into his chest, the bolts deflected harmlessly, scattering across the crystalline ground like rain on permacrete. "Roger, Roger, wait, that's not normal," AB-1 squeaked before Superman grabbed it by the torso and used it as a club against 3 of its companions, reducing all 4 to sparking scrap metal. Obi-Wan deflected blaster fire with his lightsaber, but he found himself mostly observing. The stranger wasn't using any recognizable combat form. No Jedi precision, no Sith fury. Just raw, overwhelming physical superiority applied with remarkable restraint. Superman disabled rather than destroyed, incapacitated rather than killed. Even facing emotionless droids, the being seemed reluctant to use lethal force. Interesting, Obi-Wan thought. Power without cruelty. Strength tempered by mercy. A droid trifighter swept low, strafing the crater with laser fire. Superman's eyes flared brilliant red, and twin beams of thermal energy lanced upward, surgically severing the fighter's wing mounts. The craft spiraled away, crashing but not exploding, another calculated strike designed to neutralize, not annihilate. What is that? Anakin Skywalker's voice carried across the battlefield as he force-leaped into the crater, his blue lightsaber a blur of defensive strikes. Heat vision. Some kind of ocular implant? I don't think it's technology, Obi-Wan replied, studying Superman as the stranger casually deflected a thermal detonator back toward its thrower with a flick of his wrist. The explosive detonated safely in midair. I think it's simply what he is. The last wave of battle droids retreated, or more accurately, were routed. Superman stood amid the wreckage, breathing steadily but clearly exerted. Obi-Wan noticed something crucial: the stranger was strong, impossibly so, but not invincible. A blaster bolt had grazed his shoulder, leaving a faint scorch mark on the blue fabric. Another had struck his cape, burning through the material. He could be hurt. Just not easily. You're bleeding, Anakin observed, pointing to a thin cut above Superman's eye, likely from the crash itself. Superman touched the wound, seeming almost surprised to find it there. I'm still adjusting. The energy here is different. The sun, he looked up at Christophsis' yellow star. It's the right color, but the radiation spectrum is off. My cells are adapting, but it's taking time. Your cells? Obi-Wan's curiosity intensified. You're biological, then. Not a droid or some form of force manifestation. As biological as you are, I think. Superman's expression grew distant. My species, we're called Kryptonians. We evolved on a planet orbiting a red giant. When we're exposed to the radiation of a younger, yellow sun, our cellular structure absorbs and converts that energy into. He gestured helplessly at the destruction around them. This. Anakin circled the stranger, not threateningly but with the intense focus of a mechanic examining a new starfighter. So you're essentially a living solar battery. That's incredible. Do you need to recharge? What's your upper limit? Can you? Anakin, Obi-Wan interrupted gently. Perhaps we should continue this conversation somewhere less exposed. The Separatists will send reinforcements, and I suspect Count Dooku himself will want to investigate our new arrival. Superman's jaw tightened at the mention of reinforcements. Count Dooku. That's the second time I've heard that name. Who is he? The leader of the Separatist alliance, Obi-Wan explained, gesturing for them to move toward the Republic lines. A former Jedi Master who turned to the dark side of the Force. Brilliant tactician, formidable duelist, and utterly convinced that the Republic is too corrupt to save. Is he wrong? Superman asked quietly. The question hung in the air like the smoke from burning battle droids. Anakin bristled. The Republic stands for freedom and democracy, but Obi-Wan raised a calming hand. That, the Jedi Master said carefully, is a complicated question. One will have time to explore. But first, he activated his comlink. Cody, prepare a secure transport. We're bringing a civilian to the command center. Civilian? Superman's eyebrow arched. I don't think I qualify as that anymore. Guest, then, Obi-Wan amended. Kal-El of Krypton, you've arrived in the middle of the Clone Wars, a galaxy-spanning conflict between the Galactic Republic and the Confederacy of Independent Systems. The Jedi Order serves as generals for the Republic's clone army, fighting to preserve democracy against separatist aggression. Superman absorbed this information with visible concern. Clone army. You're fighting with soldiers bred for war. Created for war, Anakin corrected, his tone defensive. The clones are good men. Loyal, brave, skilled. They chose to serve. Did they? Superman's voice carried a weight that made both Jedi pause. I'm sorry, I don't mean to judge a situation I don't understand. But where I come from, creating sentient beings specifically for combat raises ethical questions. Obi-Wan and Anakin exchanged glances. It was a debate they'd had privately, one that many Jedi wrestled with in the quiet moments between battles. The Clone Wars had forced the Order to compromise on principles they'd held for millennia. They'd become warriors when they were meant to be peacekeepers. They commanded armies when they were supposed to serve the Force. The transport arrived, a Republic LAAT gunship, its hull scarred from countless engagements. Clone troopers in white armor manned the weapons, their faces hidden behind visored helmets. Superman studied them with an expression somewhere between pity and understanding. As they lifted off, Christophsis' crystal spires falling away beneath them, Obi-Wan found himself studying their guest. Superman sat quietly, observing everything with sharp intelligence. Not the vacant curiosity of a tourist, but the analytical assessment of someone trained to notice details. A soldier's awareness. Or perhaps something else. You mentioned you're from another galaxy, Obi-Wan said. Were you exploring? Military mission? Neither. Superman's voice carried grief. I was fighting. There was a breach in something we call the Phantom Zone, a dimensional prison for Kryptonian criminals. I went in to stop them from escaping. There was an explosion, reality fractured, and he gestured at the alien landscape below. I ended up here. Wherever here is. The unknown regions, Anakin supplied. At least, that's what I'd guess based on those star patterns. We're in the outer rim, on the edge of charted space. Charted by whom? The Galactic Republic, Obi-Wan answered. A democratic union of star systems spanning most of the known galaxy. At least, that's what it's supposed to be. In practice, he trailed off, choosing his words carefully. In practice, it's become something more complicated. Bureaucratic, slow-moving, vulnerable to corruption. The Separatists claim they're fighting for independence from an oppressive system. The Republic claims they're preserving democracy against tyranny. And the truth? The truth, Obi-Wan said quietly, is somewhere in between. Which is why this war is so difficult. The gunship banked toward the Republic Command Center, a fortified position carved into one of Christophsis' larger crystal formations. The transport arrived, a Republic LAAT gunship, its hull scarred from countless engagements. Clone troopers in white armor manned the weapons, their faces hidden behind visored helmets. Superman studied them with an expression somewhere between pity and understanding. As they lifted off, Christophsis' crystal spires falling away beneath them, Obi-Wan found himself studying their guest. Superman sat quietly, observing everything with sharp intelligence. Not the vacant curiosity of a tourist, but the analytical assessment of someone trained to notice details. A soldier's awareness. Or perhaps something else. You mentioned you're from another galaxy, Obi-Wan said. Were you exploring? Military mission? Neither. Superman's voice carried grief. I was fighting. There was a breach in something we call the Phantom Zone, a dimensional prison for Kryptonian criminals. I went in to stop them from escaping. There was an explosion, reality fractured, and he gestured at the alien landscape below. I ended up here. Wherever here is. The unknown regions, Anakin supplied. At least, that's what I'd guess based on those star patterns. We're in the outer rim, on the edge of charted space. Charted by whom? The Galactic Republic, Obi-Wan answered. A democratic union of star systems spanning most of the known galaxy. At least, that's what it's supposed to be. In practice, he trailed off, choosing his words carefully. In practice, it's become something more complicated. Bureaucratic, slow-moving, vulnerable to corruption. The Separatists claim they're fighting for independence from an oppressive system. The Republic claims they're preserving democracy against tyranny. And the truth? The truth, Obi-Wan said quietly, is somewhere in between. Which is why this war is so difficult. The gunship banked toward the Republic Command Center, a fortified position carved into one of Christophsis's larger crystal formations. Clone troopers stood guard at every entrance, their DC-15 blaster rifles held ready. As Superman stepped off the transport, every trooper turned to stare at the stranger in the cape. At ease, men, Obi-Wan commanded. Our guest is under Jedi protection. Commander Cody approached, his orange-marked armor identifying him as one of the Republic's elite. General Kenobi, Supreme Chancellor Palpatine has requested an immediate holographic briefing. He's very interested in the anomaly. Obi-Wan's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. Of course he is. Inform the Chancellor will contact him within the hour. First, I need to consult with the Jedi Council. As they walked deeper into the command center, past clone troopers and holographic tactical displays showing the disposition of forces across Christophsis, Superman leaned closer to Obi-Wan. This Supreme Chancellor, he's your leader. The democratically elected head of the Galactic Senate, Obi-Wan confirmed. Chancellor Palpatine has guided the Republic through the early years of this war with remarkable political skill. He's been granted emergency powers to coordinate our military response. Something flickered across Superman's face, recognition, perhaps, or concern. On Earth, he'd been Clark Kent, investigative journalist for the Daily Planet. He'd seen what happened when democracies granted emergency powers during crises. He'd watched how temporary measures became permanent, how fear eroded freedom. But this wasn't Earth. This was a galaxy he didn't understand, fighting a war he'd just learned existed. He had no right to judge. Not yet. Still, as they entered the briefing room and Obi-Wan activated the holographic communicator, Superman couldn't shake the feeling that he'd crashed into something far more dangerous than a simple military conflict. The Jedi seemed noble, their clone soldiers disciplined and professional. But there was something underneath. Something the Force users themselves didn't seem to fully perceive. The hologram flickered to life, and 12 figures appeared in miniature, the Jedi Council, convened across light years of space. At the center sat a small, ancient being with green skin and pointed ears. Master Yoda leaned forward on his Jimmer stick, his eyes, ancient beyond measure, fixing on Superman with an intensity that made even the Kryptonian feel exposed. Sense you in the Force, I cannot, Yoda said slowly. Yet exist, you clearly do. Explain this, Obi-Wan Kenobi must. Obi-Wan bowed respectfully. Masters, I present Kal-El of Krypton. Also known as Superman. He claims to be from another galaxy entirely, and I believe him. His abilities are unprecedented. Demonstrate, he should, suggested Mace Windu, his holographic form radiating skepticism. Superman met the Jedi Master's gaze evenly. With respect, Master Windu, I'm not a carnival act. But I'll answer your questions honestly. I'm here by accident, not by choice. I have no allegiance to either side of your war. And I have no intention of becoming a weapon for anyone. The silence that followed was profound. It was Yoda who finally spoke, and his words would echo through the days to come, a weapon, you may not wish to be. But change the course of this war, your presence will. Already, begun it has. The Jedi Council chamber aboard the Star Cruiser Resolute hummed with tension that had nothing to do with the ship's hyperspace engines. Obi-Wan stood beside Superman in the holographic communication bay while 12 of the galaxy's most powerful Force users studied the stranger who registered as nothing in their ancient mystical perception. Master Yoda's ears twitched, a telltale sign the ancient Jedi was deeply troubled. Strong in the Force, all living things are. Connected to it, they must be. Yet you, he gestured with his Jimmer stick. A blank space, you are. As if exist, you do not. Most disturbing, this is. I assure you, I exist. Superman said with a slight smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. But I understand your concern. Where I come from, there's no Force. At least, not that we've ever detected. Our powers, my powers, come from a different source entirely. Mace Windu's holographic form leaned forward, his expression carved from stone. You claim to be from beyond this galaxy. That your abilities stem from absorbing stellar radiation. Forgive our skepticism, but such claims require extraordinary evidence. I can provide evidence, Superman offered. My ship, the pod I arrived in, contains Kryptonian technology and data archives. If you have scientists who can analyze it, they'll find manufacturing techniques, materials, and energy signatures that don't exist in your database. Technology can be faked, Windu countered. Your demonstration against the battle droids was impressive, but raw strength alone doesn't prove interdimensional origin. Anakin, standing slightly behind Obi-Wan, bristled. Master Windu, I watched him fly. Not force-enhanced jumping, actual sustained flight. I watched him shoot energy beams from his eyes. I've never seen or heard of any species capable of. Peace, young Skywalker. Ki-Adi-Mundi's hologram gestured calmingly. We do not doubt what you witnessed. We merely seek to understand what stands before us. If Kal-El truly exists outside the Force, the implications are profound. Plo Koon's respirator hissed softly as he spoke. It raises theological questions we've debated for millennia. Is the Force truly universal, binding all life? Or are there forms of existence beyond its reach? With respect, Masters, Superman interjected carefully, I don't think my presence needs to challenge your beliefs. I'm just one being from one planet in another galaxy. Maybe the Force doesn't extend beyond your galactic boundaries. Maybe it does, but manifests differently where I'm from. I honestly don't know. Humble words, Shakti observed, her leku swaying slightly. Yet you destroyed a squadron of battle droids single-handedly. You intercepted a tri-fighter in flight. Such power, coupled with humility, is unusual. I was raised to believe that power without responsibility is tyranny, Superman said quietly. My adoptive parents taught me that having abilities others don't means you have an obligation to help, not to dominate. Yoda's expression softened fractionally. Wise parents, you had. The Jedi way, similar it is. Serve, we do. Not rule. And yet, a new voice interrupted smoothly, you do rule, in your way. Every head turned toward the secondary holographic projector, where a tall, elegantly robed figure materialized. Obi-Wan's jaw tightened in recognition. Count Dooku. The former Jedi Master, now Separatist leader, cut an imposing figure even in miniature holographic form. His silver beard was impeccably trimmed, his posture radiating aristocratic confidence. Most striking were his eyes, sharp, intelligent, and utterly certain of their own righteousness. How did you access this frequency? Mace Windu demanded. Please, Mace. I helped design the Republic's encrypted communication protocols. Did you truly think I wouldn't maintain access? Dooku's attention shifted to Superman, and his expression became one of fascinated appraisal. So this is the anomaly that tore through real space above Christophsis. Magnificent. Truly magnificent. Count Dooku, Superman said evenly. Master Kenobi mentioned you. Leader of the Separatist Alliance. Former Jedi. Former, yes. But not fallen, as they would have you believe. Dooku gestured dismissively at the council members. I simply opened my eyes to reality. The Republic these Jedi serve is rotting from within, a bloated, corrupt bureaucracy that serves corporate interests while trillions suffer. The Jedi, for all their supposed wisdom, have become the Senate's enforcers. Generals leading slave armies in a war manufactured by the very corruption they claim to oppose. That's enough, Dooku, Obi-Wan warned. Is it? Dooku's smile was cold. Tell me, Kal-El of Krypton, in your galaxy, do your heroes serve governments without question? Do they allow themselves to be drafted as military commanders, abandoning their principles for political convenience? Superman's expression remained neutral, but Obi-Wan noticed the slight tension in his jaw. The stranger was listening. Evaluating. Not dismissing Dooku's words as propaganda. The Jedi serve the Force, Shaak Ti said firmly. We act to preserve life and maintain peace. By commanding armies of clone slaves bred solely for combat. Dooku's voice carried mock sympathy. By leading those slaves into battles orchestrated by a Senate so paralyzed by corruption it can barely function. You speak of peace while making war, Shaak Ti. At least I'm honest about my methods. Your methods include terrorizing civilian populations, Mace Windu growled. Droid armies that show no mercy. Planetary bombardments. How is that honest? It's efficient. And it will end far sooner than your Republic's prolonged agony. Dooku turned back to Superman. I've studied the initial reports from Christophsis. You disabled rather than destroyed. You protected civilian structures even while under fire. You show restraint. Tell me, does that sound like someone who belongs in the Jedi's war? Superman met Dooku's gaze steadily. It sounds like someone who doesn't have enough information to choose any side. A flicker of surprise crossed Dooku's face, followed by something that might have been respect. Wise. Far wiser than these hidebound monks who committed themselves to a failing regime without question. The Separatist Alliance offers a different path, Kal-El, independence. Freedom from the Republic's corruption. We could use someone of your remarkable abilities. As a weapon? Superman's tone hardened. I told the Council, and I'll tell you, I'm not joining anyone's army. Not a weapon. An ally. A protector of the systems seeking liberation from one authority by submitting to another. Superman interrupted. I've heard recruitment speeches before, Count. They all promise freedom while demanding obedience. Dooku's hologram flickered slightly, as if the connection was destabilizing. Or perhaps it was the Count's composure. You're suspicious. Good. You should be. But consider this, the Republic is led by Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, a man who has accumulated more emergency powers than any leader in galactic history. Who has extended his term indefinitely. Who controls both the Senate and the Jedi. Does that sound like democracy to you? Before Superman could respond, another hologram materialized, this one displaying the gentle, grandfatherly face of Chancellor Palpatine himself. The Supreme Chancellor's expression radiated concern and warmth, though Obi-Wan noticed Superman's eyes narrow fractionally at the new arrival. Count Dooku, Palpatine said sadly. Still spreading your poison, I see. Masters of the Jedi Council, please forgive this intrusion, but when I learned of our extraordinary visitor, I felt it necessary to welcome him personally. Chancellor. Mace Windu inclined his head respectfully. We were just concluding our initial assessment. Of course, of course. Palpatine's attention fixed on Superman with grandfatherly interest. Kal-El, is it? What an extraordinary name. And extraordinary circumstances. A being from beyond our galaxy, arriving at such a pivotal moment in our history. The Force works in mysterious ways. I don't believe the Force had anything to do with my arrival, Superman said carefully. Perhaps not directly. But destiny has many faces. Palpatine's smile widened. I want you to know that you are welcome in the Republic, Kal-El. We have no desire to conscript you or force you into service. You're a refugee, displaced through no fault of your own. The Republic offers you sanctuary, assistance, and, should you desire it, the resources to potentially find your way home. Superman's posture shifted slightly. You could help me return to my galaxy. The Republic's scientific institutions are the finest in known space. If anyone can analyze the dimensional breach that brought you here, it would be our researchers. Of course, Palpatine's expression grew regretful, such projects require significant resources. Resources currently strained by this terrible war. The implication hung in the air like a blade. You're asking me to help you win the war in exchange for helping me get home, Superman said flatly. I'm offering a partnership, Palpatine corrected gently. You help us restore peace to the galaxy. We help you return to yours. A fair exchange, surely. And in the meantime, you'd be saving countless lives. Protecting the innocent. Isn't that what heroes do? Dooku's laugh was sharp and bitter. And there it is. The Chancellor's true colors. He offers sanctuary with one hand while dangling your only hope of returning home with the other. Choose the Republic, serve his war machine, and perhaps, he'll let you go. Refuse, and you're stranded forever. Tell me, Palpatine, is that the democracy you claim to represent? How dare you? Palpatine's expression darkened fractionally before smoothing back into benevolent concern. Twist my offer of genuine aid into something sinister. I'm trying to help a displaced refugee while protecting trillions of Republic citizens. If you cannot see the difference, Dooku, then you've fallen farther than I feared. Superman stood silent, his expression unreadable. Around him, the holographic figures of the galaxy's most powerful individuals waited for his response. Jedi Masters who claimed to serve peace but commanded armies. A separatist leader who preached freedom through warfare. A chancellor who offered help with invisible strings attached. Finally, Superman spoke. I appreciate all your offers. Truly. But I need time to understand this galaxy before I commit to anything. Master Kenobi, he turned to Obi-Wan. You mentioned the Jedi are peacekeepers who became warriors. That suggests you weren't always soldiers. I'd like to learn about that. About what the Jedi were before this war, and what you hope to become after it ends. Yoda's ears perked up, and something that might have been approval flickered across his ancient face. Wisdom and patience, there is. Learn, you should. Decide after understanding, you will. Unacceptable, Mace Windu stated. We cannot allow a being of such power to roam freely while we determine his intentions. He must remain under Jedi supervision until... Until what? Superman's voice carried an edge of steel. Until you've decided whether I'm a useful asset or a threat to be contained. Master Windu, I've dealt with governments that wanted to control me before. It never ends well. We don't seek to control you, Obi-Wan interjected quickly, shooting Windu a warning glance. Master Yoda is correct, you should learn about us before making any decisions. I volunteer to serve as your guide. Show you the Republic, the Jedi Order, help you understand what we're fighting for. And I extend a similar invitation, Dooku added smoothly. Visit Separatist systems. See the worlds liberated from Republic oppression. Judge for yourself which side deserves your allegiance. He will do no such thing, Palpatine said, his voice hardening almost imperceptibly. The Separatists cannot be trusted, Kal-El. They would manipulate you, turn your power against innocent. Enough. Superman's voice cut through the arguing holograms like a blade. All of you, enough. I didn't ask to be here. I didn't ask to become a prize in your war. And I'm not going to be pressured into choosing sides by politicians or generals, no matter how righteous they claim to be. The silence that followed was absolute. Superman continued, his voice calmer but no less firm. Master Kenobi, I'll accept your offer to learn about the Jedi. But I'm not restricting myself to Republic space or Jedi philosophy. If Count Dooku wants to present his perspective, I'll listen. If there are neutral systems caught between both sides, I'll visit them too. I'll make my own assessment based on what I see, not what I'm told. Mace Windu's hologram bristled. That's extraordinarily naive. You think you can evaluate a galaxy-spanning conflict as an impartial observer? No, Superman admitted. But I can try. And I can refuse to be anyone's weapon until I'm certain who deserves my help. He met each hologram's gaze in turn. I've made mistakes before by acting too quickly, trusting the wrong people. I won't repeat those mistakes here. Yoda's eyes glinted with something that might have been satisfaction. An observer, he will be. Neutral, he will remain. Unless choose otherwise, he does. Acceptable, this is. The other council members exchanged glances. Clearly, it wasn't acceptable to all of them. But Yoda's word carried weight even among masters who disagreed. For now, Mace Windu said grudgingly. But if he interferes with Republic operations or aids the Separatists in any way, then deal with him. You will try, Yoda finished, his tone dry. Succeed, you might not. Better to earn his trust than force his hand. Dooku's hologram flickered. A wise decision, old master. Perhaps there's hope for you yet. Kal-El, when you tire of Jedi platitudes and Republic corruption, you'll find me on Sereno. We have much to discuss. His hologram vanished. Palpatine lingered a moment longer, his expression troubled. I hope you choose wisely, Kal-El. The galaxy has suffered enough. We need heroes, not more uncertainty. Then he too disconnected. One by one, the council members faded until only Yoda remained. Trust your instincts, you should, the ancient master said quietly. But cautious, be. Powerful, you are. But understand our war, you do not. And in war, his expression grew infinitely sad. Truth is the first casualty, it is. The hologram disappeared, leaving Superman and Obi-Wan alone in the communications bay. The Jedi Master sighed deeply. Well. That could have gone better. Superman managed a tired smile. Could it have? I just told the leaders of your civilization that I don't trust any of them. Yes. And somehow, that makes me trust you more than if you'd immediately pledged allegiance. Obi-Wan gestured toward the door. Come. Let me show you to quarters where you can rest. You've had a very long day. As they walked through the corridors of the Resolute, past clone troopers who stared with undisguised curiosity, Superman asked quietly, the Chancellor. Palpatine. How long has he held emergency powers? Nearly 3 years now, Obi-Wan admitted. The Senate keeps extending them. The war keeps providing justification. And after the war, he's promised to relinquish them. To restore full democracy. Superman stopped walking. Master Kenobi, in my experience, leaders who accumulate power during emergencies rarely give it back willingly. Obi-Wan met his gaze, and for a moment, the Jedi's facade of confidence cracked. I know. Many of us know. But what choice do we have? The Separatists must be stopped. The Republic must survive. We trust the Force to guide us through these dark times. The Force, Superman repeated softly. This energy that connects all life. That you serve without question. Without question. Obi-Wan's smile was sad. Kal-El, I question constantly. Every battle. Every casualty. Every choice that leads good soldiers to their deaths. The difference is, he paused, choosing his words carefully. The difference is I still believe there's a light side and a dark side. Good and evil. Even when the path between them gets murky. Superman nodded slowly. Then maybe I can learn something from you after all. As they continued down the corridor, neither noticed the small maintenance droid following at a discreet distance, its optical sensors recording everything, transmitting encrypted data to a location deep in the heart of Coruscant. Where an office wrapped in shadows, a figure sat alone, steepling his fingers and smiling. Fascinating, Emperor Palpatine, Darth Sidious, murmured. Truly fascinating. A being outside the Force. Outside my vision. This changes everything. His yellow eyes gleamed in the darkness. But I've toppled Jedi Masters and manipulated galaxies. One alien, however powerful, will not disrupt the grand design. His smile widened. He'll become part of it. One way or another. 3 days passed aboard the Resolute while Republic forces secured Christophsis. 3 days during which Superman's cells gradually adapted to the unfamiliar stellar radiation spectrum of this galaxy's suns. Obi-Wan noticed the changes. Cuts that had taken hours to heal now closed in minutes. Flight that had seemed effortful became graceful, almost casual. The faint vulnerability that had made the Kryptonian seem approachable was vanishing, replaced by something closer to invulnerability. It made the Jedi increasingly uneasy, not because he feared Superman would turn hostile, but because beings of such power rarely remain neutral for long. The galaxy had a way of forcing choices. On the 4th day, that choice arrived in the form of an encrypted transmission flagged with separatist diplomatic codes. "It's addressed to you personally," Anakin said, examining the holoprojector in Superman's temporary quarters. Routed through 17 different relay stations to mask the origin point. Professional work. Superman studied the innocuous-looking data crystal. "Can you trace it?" "Already tried. Whoever sent it knows Republic counterintelligence protocols inside and out." Anakin's expression darkened. "Which means it's probably from Dooku himself." Obi-Wan entered the quarters, his robes swishing. "I sense trouble through the Force." "What's happened?" "Count Dooku sent Superman a personal message," Anakin reported. "We should destroy it. Whatever propaganda he's selling." "No," Superman's voice was firm. He offered to present his perspective. I agreed to listen. That means actually listening, not dismissing anything that contradicts what I've already heard. "He's a Sith Lord," Anakin protested. "The dark side twists everything. He'll manipulate you with half-truths and..." "Then I'll evaluate what he says critically," Superman interrupted. "But I won't make decisions based on refusing to hear opposing viewpoints. That's not wisdom, it's willful ignorance." Obi-Wan and Anakin exchanged glances. The Jedi Master nodded slowly. "He's right, Anakin. If we claim the moral high ground, we must demonstrate it. Play the message." The holoprojector flickered to life, and Count Dooku's elegant figure materialized at half-scale. The former Jedi was seated in what appeared to be a study, walls lined with ancient texts, a window behind him showing the peaceful countryside of Sereno. "Kal-El," Dooku began, his voice carrying none of the theatrical confrontation from their previous encounter. "Thank you for your willingness to hear me out. I promise this won't be a recruitment speech. Instead, I'd like to tell you a story. The story of how a Jedi Master came to lead a separatist rebellion." He gestured, and the hologram shifted, showing archival footage of the Galactic Senate in session. 20 years ago, I sat on the Jedi Council. I believed in the Republic absolutely. But I also spent time in the Senate, observing how democracy actually functioned. And what I saw horrified me. The footage showed senators arguing, making backroom deals, accepting obvious bribes from corporate lobbyists. The Senate doesn't represent its citizens anymore, Kal-El. It represents corporate interests. The Trade Federation. The Banking Clan. The Techno-Union. These organizations have more influence than entire star systems. They write legislation that senators barely read. They fund campaigns that ensure only compliant politicians gain power. The Jedi knew this, Dooku continued, the image shifting back to him. But we did nothing. We told ourselves politics weren't our concern. That serving the Force meant remaining above such mundane corruption. In truth, we were afraid. Afraid of losing our position. Afraid the Senate might withdraw support for the Order. Anakin's jaw clenched, but he remained silent. Then came the Naboo crisis, Dooku said, and the hologram showed battle droids marching through peaceful streets. The Trade Federation invaded a sovereign world because of a trade dispute. They blockaded the planet, killed civilians, installed a puppet government. And do you know what the Senate did? They formed a committee to investigate. They debated. They delayed. While people died. Superman's expression was unreadable, but he leaned forward slightly. One Jedi Master, Qui-Gon Jinn, acted decisively. He protected Queen Amidala, exposed the corruption, stopped the invasion. And for his heroism, he was killed by a Sith apprentice we didn't even know existed. Dooku's voice carried genuine grief. My former Padawan died because the Jedi Order was so consumed by Republic politics that we'd become blind to the darkness growing in our own ranks. That's when I began asking questions the Council didn't want to hear. How had a Sith Lord operated under our noses? Why were we serving a government that valued corporate profits over sentient lives? When had the peacekeepers become enablers of systematic injustice? The hologram shifted again, showing worlds in varying states of distress, impoverished populations, exploited workers, environmental devastation. These are separatist systems, Kal-El. Before they joined our alliance, they petitioned the Senate for relief. For protection from corporate exploitation. For basic rights. They were ignored. Dismissed. Told their concerns weren't priorities. So they chose independence. And the Republic, this democracy the Jedi serve, responded with military force. They created a clone army, bred for war, and sent it to crush worlds seeking liberation from corruption. Dooku's holographic eyes locked onto Superman's position. You asked Master Kenobi about clone soldiers. Whether beings created specifically for combat truly chose their fate. He didn't have a good answer, did he? Because there is no good answer. The clones are slaves, Kal-El, engineered for obedience, programmed with inhibitor chips to ensure compliance, sent to die in battles orchestrating by. The hologram glitched violently, Dooku's form pixelating. When it stabilized, his expression had shifted to something resembling grim satisfaction. They're trying to jam the transmission. The Republic doesn't want you hearing this. But I anticipated their interference. The image quality degraded further, but Dooku's voice remained clear. I'm not asking you to join the separatist cause, Kal-El. I'm asking you to investigate. Visit Raxus Secundus, the separatist capital. Meet the senators who voted for independence. See the systems we've liberated from Republic occupation. Then make your own judgment. The hologram flickered one final time. And ask yourself this question, if the Republic truly represents freedom and democracy, why do they work so hard to prevent you from seeing alternatives? The transmission ended. Silence filled the quarters. Anakin's face was flushed with anger. Obi-Wan's expression was carefully neutral, though his fingers tapped against his lightsaber hilt, a nervous tell Superman had learned to recognize. He's manipulating you, Anakin said finally. Everything he showed, those images could be doctored, taken out of context. He's a Sith. Deception is their nature. Some of what he said was true, though. Obi-Wan admitted quietly. The Senate is corrupt. We do serve a flawed system. And the clones, he trailed off, unwilling to complete the thought. Superman stood, moving to the viewport overlooking Christophsis' crystalline landscape. The inhibitor chips he mentioned. Are they real? Neither Jedi answered immediately. They're behavioral modification chips, Obi-Wan finally said. Installed in all clone troopers to ensure they follow orders without question. The Kaminoans claim they prevent clone independence, rogue behavior. They ensure obedience, Superman interrupted, his voice flat. You're commanding an army of sentient beings with control chips in their brains. We didn't design the clones, Anakin protested. The army was commissioned before we even knew about it. We're making the best of an impossible situation. Without the clones, the Republic would fall to the separatist droid armies. And with them, you're perpetuating slavery. Superman turned from the viewport. Do you understand what you're asking me to support? Either side, Republic or Separatist, relies on armies that strip away individual autonomy. Clones bred for war. Droids programmed for destruction. Where are the actual citizens in this conflict? The people supposedly being protected? Dying, Obi-Wan said simply. Trillions of civilians caught between two military forces, neither of which truly represents their interests. You're right to be appalled, Kal-El. Many Jedi share your concerns. But what alternative do we have? If we abandon the Republic, the Separatists win. If the Separatists win, systems fall under the control of the very corporations that exploited them in the first place. Dooku claims the Separatists have liberated worlds from corporate control. And installed military governors, Anakin countered. Droid occupation forces. He talks about freedom while building the largest automated army in galactic history. At least clones can think, can choose. Can they? Superman's question hung in the air. With chips in their heads ensuring obedience. Anakin looked like he'd been struck. Obi-Wan's expression grew pained. Before either could respond, the ship's intercom crackled. General Kenobi, General Skywalker, your presence is required in the command center immediately. We've received a priority alpha transmission from Coruscant. As they hurried through the corridors, Superman walking between the two Jedi, Anakin spoke quietly. You think we're monsters? For commanding the clones? No, Superman said. I think you're good people trapped in a terrible situation. But that doesn't make it right. The command center was chaos. Holographic displays showed multiple star systems under attack. Clone officers shouted coordinates. Tactical data streamed across screens faster than Superman could parse. Admiral Yularen, the Resolute's commanding officer, saluted as they entered. Generals. The Separatists have launched simultaneous strikes on 7 mid-rim systems. Intelligence suggests this is a coordinated offensive, the largest since the Battle of Coruscant. Casualties? Obi-Wan asked. Unknown. But civilian populations are under direct threat. The Senate is mobilizing every available Republic force. Yularen gestured to a specific system highlighted in red. We're being reassigned to the Sullust system. The Separatists have breached the planetary shields and are deploying ground forces. Superman studied the tactical display. What's the strategic value of Sullust? Massive shipyards, Anakin explained. If the Separatists capture them, they'll double their fleet production capacity. And if they hold the system, they control a major hyperspace junction to the core worlds. Civilians? Superman pressed. 18 billion Sullustans, Yularen reported. Urban centers are being evacuated, but the population density makes complete evacuation impossible. If the Separatists decide to bombard from orbit, they won't. Obi-Wan said with more confidence than Superman suspected he felt. They want the shipyards intact. That gives us time to mount a defense. An incoming transmission alert sounded. The holographic display shifted, and Count Dooku's image appeared, not the contemplative scholar from his message, but the commanding military leader. General Kenobi. General Skywalker. Dooku's smile was cold. And Kal-El. How fortuitous. I wanted you to witness this. Witness what? Anakin demanded. A demonstration of Separatist resolve. Dooku gestured, and the transmission split screen. The second image showed orbital bombardment, massive turbolaser strikes devastating a planet's surface. Cities burned. Shields failed. Atmosphere ignited. Superman's fists clenched. What planet is that? Duro, Dooku said calmly. A Republic loyalist world that refused our offer of peaceful independence. We've been forced to respond with overwhelming force. You're massacring civilians. Anakin shouted. We're liberating a planet from a tyrannical government that forced its population to support a losing war, Dooku corrected. The deaths are regrettable but necessary. As are the deaths that will occur on Sullust unless, his attention fixed on Superman. Unless someone intervenes who has the power to stop this without Republic or Separatist involvement. Superman's eyes began to glow red. You're using civilians as hostages to manipulate me. I'm presenting you with reality, Dooku replied. 2 worlds under attack. Billions of lives in danger. The Republic's forces are stretched thin, even with Jedi generals and clone armies, they cannot defend both systems effectively. But you, Kal-El, you could reach Duro in minutes. Save millions of lives. Prove that your claimed neutrality includes protecting the innocent regardless of political allegiance. It's a trap, Obi-Wan warned. He's trying to separate you from Republic support, assess your capabilities, or both. Perhaps, Dooku acknowledged. Or perhaps I'm testing whether this self-proclaimed hero truly cares about innocent lives, or only about maintaining comfortable neutrality while others suffer. The bombardment continued in the background of the transmission. Buildings collapsed. Fires spread. Superman could hear the screams even through the distorted audio. You have 1 hour before Duro's major population centers are destroyed beyond recovery, Dooku said. Choose wisely, Kal-El, action or inaction, both have consequences. But only one reveals your true character. The transmission ended. Superman stood motionless, staring at the now blank display. Every instinct screamed at him to fly to Duro, to stop the bombardment, to save whoever he could. But Obi-Wan was right, it was obviously a trap. Dooku wanted to isolate him, study his abilities, possibly capture or kill him far from Republic support. We can't abandon Sullust, Anakin said. 18 billion people. And millions dying on Duro right now, Superman interrupted. His voice was quiet, controlled, but carrying an edge of barely restrained fury. This is what your war looks like. Using civilians as chess pieces? We don't use civilians, Obi-Wan protested. This is Dooku's tactic. And your Chancellor Palpatine? His tactics are different. Superman's glowing eyes fixed on the Jedi. Master Kenobi, you told me the Republic represents democracy. But I've seen democracies fail before. I've seen them become the very tyranny they claim to oppose. And right now, I'm watching one force me to choose which civilians deserve to live because neither side has enough basic decency to stop weaponizing innocence. He moved toward the hangar bay. Obi-Wan and Anakin followed. Where are you going? Anakin demanded. Duro. Superman's cape billowed as he walked. To stop a massacre. Alone, since apparently that's the only way anything gets done in this galaxy without political calculations. You can't, Obi-Wan said urgently. Dooku is baiting you. The moment you reveal your full capabilities against Separatist forces, you've chosen a side whether you intended to or not. Superman stopped, turning to face both Jedi. Then maybe it's time to choose. Not Republic or Separatist. Not Jedi or Sith. But the side that says using civilians as weapons is unacceptable regardless of who's doing it. That's naive, Anakin snapped. War doesn't work that way. Sometimes you have to make impossible choices. No, Superman's voice carried absolute conviction. Sometimes you have to make the right choice, even when it's impossible. That's what separates heroes from soldiers. He turned toward the hangar bay. And froze. Standing in his path was a figure wrapped in dark robes, hood drawn, face hidden in shadow. But Superman's enhanced senses detected the heartbeat, the respiratory pattern, the subtle electromagnetic signature of a human nervous system. The figure's presence hit the Jedi like a psychic shockwave. Obi-Wan and Anakin ignited their lightsabers instantly, blue plasma blades humming. Impossible, Obi-Wan whispered. How did you get aboard? The figure lowered its hood, revealing elegant features framed by dark hair streaked with silver. Not Dooku. Someone else entirely. Hello, Obi-Wan, the woman said, her voice carrying authority that made even Superman pause. It's been a long time. Asajj Ventress, Anakin growled. Dooku's assassin. The woman, Ventress, smiled without warmth. Former assassin. I've recently, re-evaluated my employment. And I bring a message for the Kryptonian. Her yellow eyes fixed on Superman. One that changes everything you think you know about this war. Her hand emerged from her robes, holding not a lightsaber, but a data chip that glowed with an eerie red light. This, she said, contains proof that everything, Republic, Separatists, Jedi, Sith, is controlled by a single puppet master. Someone who has orchestrated this entire war for purposes you cannot imagine. We're not interested in Separatist propaganda, Obi-Wan said. This isn't Separatist intelligence, Ventress replied. It's Sith intelligence. Stolen from my former master's private files. Information even Dooku doesn't realize I possess. She extended the chip toward Superman. Take it. Learn the truth. Then decide if either side deserves your protection. Superman's X-ray vision activated instinctively, scanning the chip for explosives or hidden mechanisms. It appeared clean, just data storage. Why bring this to me, he asked. Why not the Jedi Council or? Because they're compromised, Ventress interrupted. All of them. Dooku serves a master he doesn't fully understand. The Jedi serve a chancellor who is not what he appears. And you, her expression became almost pitying. You're the only player on this board who hasn't been positioned there deliberately. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. Admiral Yulleran's voice crackled over the intercom. Generals, we're detecting a hyperspace signature. Massive vessel dropping out of lightspeed directly above us. The ship lurched violently. Superman grabbed a support beam to steady himself while the Jedi maintained their footing through force-enhanced balance. Ventress's smile widened. That would be my exit. Decide quickly, Kryptonian. Duro burns while you deliberate. And when you finally take the chip and learn what I've offered, she ignited twin red lightsabers. You'll realize this entire conversation has been another manipulation. Question is, mine, Dooku's, the Republic's, or someone else's? She leaped, impossibly fast, disappearing into a ventilation shaft before either Jedi could intercept. Superman stood motionless, the data chip gleaming in Ventress's wake, while somewhere millions of kilometers away, Duro's cities continued to burn. And the terrible choice Count Dooku had offered remained, save one world alone, or trust the Republic to handle both while millions died. Neither option was acceptable. So Superman would have to create a third. Superman didn't ask permission. He simply moved. One moment he stood in the corridor of the Resolute, data chip clutched in his hand. The next, he was a blue and red streak tearing through the hangar bay atmospheric shield, accelerating into the vacuum of space at speeds that made Republic starfighters look stationary. He's gone, Anakin reported, watching the sensors. Velocity readings are impossible. He's already cleared the system's gravity well. Obi-Wan deactivated his lightsaber, his expression troubled. He's heading for Duro. Alone. Exactly as Dooku intended. Should we follow? With what? He's moving faster than our fastest interceptors. Obi-Wan stared at the tactical display showing Superman's trajectory, a perfectly straight line through space that ignored hyperspace lanes, gravity wells, and every other constraint that governed normal travel. No, Anakin. We proceed to Sullust as ordered. And we trust that Kal-El knows what he's doing. Do you trust him? Obi-Wan was silent for a long moment. I trust that he wants to help. Whether that's enough in a galaxy this complicated, we'll see. Superman had never flown through space quite like this. Earth's solar system was one thing, familiar stars, mapped trajectories, the comforting yellow sun always within reach. But here, racing between unfamiliar constellations toward a planet he'd only seen on tactical displays, he felt the weight of his isolation. I'm not in Kansas anymore, he thought with grim humor. Not even in the same universe as Kansas. His enhanced vision picked up Duro long before conventional sensors would detect it. The planet hung in space like a burning jewel, beautiful and terrible. Orbital bombardment lit the night side with artificial stars. Atmosphere rippled with shockwaves. He could see the Separatist fleet, massive dreadnoughts, their turbolaser batteries firing in coordinated volleys. And below, on the surface, beings died by the thousands. Superman's jaw clenched. Dooku wanted to test me. Fine. Let's see how his ships handle something they've never encountered. He didn't slow. Didn't announce himself. Simply became a kinetic projectile wrapped in invulnerable Kryptonian biology, striking the nearest dreadnought's command tower at Mach 47. The impact should have killed him. Would have killed anything organic in this galaxy. Instead, the command tower exploded, shrapnel and debris fontaining into space while Superman emerged from the other side without a scratch, banking hard toward the second vessel. Alarms shrieked throughout the Separatist fleet. Tactical officers tried to track the impossible contact. Point defense turrets swiveled, tracking systems struggling to lock onto something moving faster than their targeting computers could process. Superman tore through a broadside cannon battery, his fists pulverizing the massive weapons into scrap metal. Heat vision lanced out, surgically severing power conduits, disabling engines, crippling weapons systems. He moved like a ghost through the fleet, untouchable, unstoppable, methodically dismantling the bombardment capability of each vessel. Inside the flagship Redeemer, Admiral Trench, a spider-like harch with 6 eyes and cybernetic enhancements, watched his fleet being systematically destroyed by a single entity. "What ISS that?" he hissed, his mechanical respirator clicking. "Unknown, Admiral," his tactical officer reported. "Sensors classify it as biological. But no life form should survive void exposure, let alone," the officer's voice rose in panic. "It's heading for us." Superman crashed through the Redeemer's hangar bay, the magnetic shield failing as he breached the hull. Battle droids raised their weapons, he ignored them, flying past in a blur that left the droids spinning in his wake. He navigated by sound and electromagnetic signatures, following the ship's power grid to its reactor core. The reactor chamber was a cathedral of machinery, pulsing with barely contained energy. Superman's eyes blazed red, and twin beams of focused heat struck the reactor's control systems, not destroying them, but fusing critical components, triggering automatic safety protocols. The ship began emergency shutdown procedures. Throughout the fleet, the same scene repeated. Superman moved from vessel to vessel, disabling rather than destroying, neutralizing threats without massacring crews. His Kryptonian hearing picked up evacuation alarms, escape pods launching, droids receiving stand-down orders. In less than 12 minutes, the entire Separatist bombardment fleet was crippled. Superman floated in space above Duro, surrounded by drifting, powerless warships. His cape billowed in solar wind. Below, the bombardment had ceased. Fires still raged across the planet's surface, but no new destruction fell from the sky. His comlink, a Republic device Obi-Wan had provided, crackled to life. Count Dooku's voice emerged, and for the first time, the elegant Sith Lord sounded genuinely surprised. "Remarkable. Truly remarkable. One being, defeating an entire fleet." A pause. "Though I notice you didn't destroy my ships. Didn't kill my crews. Still clinging to your principles, even in war." "Especially in war," Superman replied. "Your people are evacuating. They'll survive. But this bombardment ends now. You realize you've just declared yourself a Republic asset," Dooku said. "By attacking Separatist forces, you've chosen a side whether you admit it or not." "No. I've chosen the side that says targeting civilians is unacceptable. If the Republic did the same thing, I'd stop them too." Dooku's laugh was unexpected, genuine amusement rather than mockery. "You actually mean that? How refreshing. And how naive. But I wonder, Kal-El, did you take Ventress's gift? The data chip?" Superman's hand moved unconsciously to his belt, where he'd secured the chip. "I have it." "Good. View it when you can. Then we'll speak again, and you'll understand why this war is more complex than Republic versus Separatist. Dooku's tone shifted, becoming almost contemplative. You fought well today. Efficiently. Honorably. You'd have made an excellent Jedi, in another life. Or perhaps, a meaningful pause. Something greater. The transmission ended. Superman descended toward Duro's surface, toward the burning cities where rescue efforts were already mobilizing. His enhanced hearing picked up thousands of voices, injured, trapped, calling for help. He had power enough to save them. The question was whether he could reach them all before. Attention, unidentified contact. A new voice crackled through the comm link, military, efficient, Republic accent. This is Captain Rex of the 501st Legion. We're deploying ground forces to assist with civilian evacuation. Transmit identification codes or be classified as hostile. Superman activated his comlink. This is Kal-El. I'm the one who disabled the bombardment fleet. I'm here to help with rescue operations. A pause. Then, copy that, Kal-El. We've been briefed about you. General Skywalker speaks highly of your capabilities. Rex's tone warmed fractionally. We could use all the help we can get. Coordinates incoming for priority rescue zones. For the next 6 hours, Superman became a one-being disaster relief operation. He lifted collapsed buildings, cleared rubble, pulled survivors from burning structures. His heat vision welded structural supports. His freeze breath extinguished fires. His X-ray vision located trapped civilians beneath tons of debris. He worked alongside clone troopers, and for the first time, really saw them. Not as abstract moral questions about genetic slavery, but as individuals. Rex, who coordinated rescue efforts with tactical precision while personally carrying a Celestin child to safety. Fives, who made jokes to calm terrified civilians while setting broken bones with field medic efficiency. Hard Case, who ignored his own shrapnel wounds to dig through rubble with bare hands. They were soldiers. But they were also people, with personalities, preferences, bonds of brotherhood that transcended their manufactured origins. You're strong, Rex observed during a brief rest period, watching Superman single-handedly lift a transit vehicle that had crushed a medical shelter. Stronger than anything I've seen outside of Force users. Different biology, Superman replied, setting the vehicle aside gently. My cells absorb solar radiation. Convert it to energy. Must be nice. Having power like that. Rex's tone wasn't envious, just factual. It's a responsibility, Superman corrected. Every second I'm not using this strength to help someone, I'm wasting it. Rex was silent for a moment. Then, that's not how most powerful beings think. Jedi talk about the Force, Sith talk about domination, politicians talk about leverage. But you, he gestured at the ruins around them. You just help. No speeches. No conditions. Isn't that what you do? Help people. The clone trooper's laugh was bitter. We follow orders. Sometimes those orders involve helping civilians. Sometimes they involve orbital strikes on separatist-occupied cities where civilians get classified as acceptable casualties. We don't choose, Kal-El. We're programmed to obey. Superman remembered Dooku's words about inhibitor chips. The chips in your heads. Could they be removed? Rex's expression went carefully blank. That's not something we discuss. Sir. I'm not your commanding officer. You don't have to call me sir. Habit. Rex adjusted his helmet. The chips are Kaminoan property. Part of our genetic architecture. Removing them would be unauthorized modification of Republic military assets. You're not assets. You're people. We're clones. Purpose-built. The distinction gets blurry. Rex stood, shouldering his rifle. But I appreciate the sentiment. Now come on, there's another building collapse 3 clicks east. Structural scanners show life signs. They worked until Duro's sun set, painting the smoke-filled sky in shades of orange and purple. Republic transport ships landed in secured zones, evacuating the most critically injured. Local emergency services, overwhelmed but determined, coordinated with clone troopers to establish triage centers. As darkness fell, Superman found himself on a rooftop overlooking the devastation. Miles of destroyed cityscape. Thousands dead. Tens of thousands injured. All because of a political dispute about trade routes and corporate influence. Footsteps behind him. Anakin Skywalker emerged from the rooftop access, his Jedi robes dusty and stained with ash. "The Resolute just arrived in system," Anakin said, joining Superman at the edge. "We secured Sullust. Drove off the Separatist ground forces before they could reach the shipyards. Casualties? Fewer than expected. Couple hundred clone troopers. Maybe 1,000 civilians caught in crossfire." Anakin's voice carried the weight of command, of lives spent like currency to achieve objectives. Could have been much worse. It shouldn't be this way at all. No. But it is. Anakin studied Superman's profile. "What you did today, taking on that fleet alone, was either the bravest thing I've ever seen or the stupidest. I haven't decided which. Both, probably." Superman managed a tired smile. "But I couldn't just stand by while people died. Even though Dooku was obviously manipulating you. Testing your abilities. Gathering intelligence on your weaknesses. Even though." Superman turned to face the young Jedi. "Anakin, can I ask you something? Do you ever wonder if you're on the right side?" The question visibly struck Anakin. His mechanical hand, Superman's enhanced vision, had noted the prosthetic immediately, clenched into a fist. "Every day," Anakin admitted quietly. "Every time I order clones into battle. Every civilian casualty. Every compromise we make because the war demands it." He met Superman's gaze. "But the alternative is worse. If the Republic falls, if the Separatists win, trillions suffer under corporate tyranny. At least the Republic has the potential for reform. For becoming what it's supposed to be. And if it doesn't? If this war just makes it into a different kind of tyranny?" Anakin's expression hardened. "Then the Jedi will handle it. We've protected the galaxy for 1,000 generations. We won't abandon that duty now." Superman heard the conviction in Anakin's voice, and the underlying doubt that conviction was meant to suppress. This young man believed in the Jedi Order with desperate intensity, as if his faith alone could make it true. "The data chip," Superman said, pulling Ventress's gift from his belt. "She claimed it contains proof that both sides are being manipulated. That someone's orchestrating this entire war." "Sith propaganda," Anakin dismissed. "Ventress is Dooku's assassin. Nothing she says can be trusted. She said she stole this from Dooku's private files. That even he doesn't know she has it. Then it's double manipulation. Dooku wants you to think you're getting secret intelligence when you're really getting," Anakin paused. "When you're really getting whatever serves his agenda. Maybe. Or maybe she's telling the truth and everyone, Republic, Separatist, Jedi, Sith, is being played." Superman held up the chip. "There's one way to find out." "Don't." Anakin's voice carried surprising urgency. "Whatever's on that chip, it's designed to create doubt. To make you question the people trying to help you. That's how the dark side works, it twists truth until you can't tell what's real anymore. The dark side. This evil side of the Force that corrupts people." Superman's tone grew challenging. "How is that different from refusing to examine evidence because it might contradict what you already believe?" Anakin's hand dropped to his lightsaber hilt. Not threateningly, unconsciously. A warrior's reflex when feeling cornered. "You don't understand the Force," Anakin said. "You can't feel it, can't sense the dark side's corruption. I can. And I'm telling you, that chip radiates it. It radiates data, Superman countered. Information. Which is either true or false regardless of who provided it. They stood in tense silence, the ruins of Duro stretching beneath them, while the philosophical gulf between them widened. Finally, Anakin sighed. If you're going to view it, do it on the Resolute. With Obi-Wan and me present. If it's separatist manipulation, we can help you recognize it. If it's something else, he trailed off, as if unable to imagine what that something else might be. Superman nodded. Fair enough. Tomorrow. After we've helped coordinate the remaining rescue operations. Tomorrow, Anakin agreed. He turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, what you did today, stopping that bombardment, it saved millions of lives. Whatever doubts you have about this war, about the Republic, that was pure heroism. No politics. No manipulation. Just someone with power using it to protect the innocent. That's all I know how to do, Superman said quietly. Then maybe that's enough. Anakin disappeared down the rooftop access stairs, leaving Superman alone with his thoughts and the data chip that promised to complicate everything. He activated his super hearing, letting the sounds of Duro wash over him. Emergency responders coordinating. Families finding each other in refugee centers. Clone troopers maintaining perimeter security while joking about near misses and sharing ration packs. Life, persisting despite destruction. Hope, surviving despite war. This is what I protect, Superman thought. Not governments or ideologies. Not force philosophies or political systems. Just people trying to live, to survive, to build something better than the violence threatening to consume them. Tomorrow, he'd learn what secrets Ventress's chip contained. Tomorrow, he'd probably face more impossible choices in a war that seemed designed to make heroism complicated. But tonight, he'd helped save a world. And in a galaxy drowning in moral ambiguity, that simple truth felt like solid ground beneath his feet. He launched himself skyward, returning to help with the night shift rescue operations, his red cape a banner of hope against Duro's smoke-darkened sky. Behind him, in the shadows of a ruined building, a cloaked figure watched through electrobinoculars. Not Ventress. Not Dooku. Someone else, a presence so carefully hidden even Superman's enhanced senses couldn't detect it. The figure activated an encrypted comlink. My lord, the Kryptonian has performed exactly as predicted. His heroic instincts override his tactical judgment. He will view the chip. And when he does, a dark, rasping voice replied, he will learn enough truth to make him doubt the Jedi. But not enough truth to threaten my design. Continue surveillance. The next phase begins soon. The figure melted back into darkness, leaving no trace of its presence. And on distant Coruscant, in an office wrapped in shadows, Darth Sidious smiled. Everything was proceeding as he had foreseen. The briefing room aboard the Resolute was designed for war councils, not revelations that might shatter Galactic Order. Obi-Wan sat with his hands folded, the picture of Jedi serenity. Anakin paced like a caged Nexu, unable to contain his nervous energy. Admiral Yularen stood at parade rest, his naval discipline evident in every line of his posture. And Superman held the data chip between his thumb and forefinger, studying it with X-ray vision one final time. No explosives, he confirmed. No biotoxins. No hidden broadcast mechanisms. It's just encrypted data storage. Sith encryption, Obi-Wan noted. Which means we'll need specialized decryption protocols too. The chip glowed briefly as Superman's heat vision played across its surface at microscopically precise temperatures. The holographic projector flickered, then stabilized. Data began streaming. Obi-Wan blinked. How did you? Kryptonian vision operates across multiple spectrums, Superman explained. Including thermal ranges precise enough to trigger specific molecular reactions. I've dealt with encrypted systems before. The hologram resolved into an image that made every person in the room go still. It showed Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, gentle, grandfatherly Palpatine, standing in a darkened chamber. But his posture was different. His expression carried none of its usual warmth. And his eyes. His eyes glowed yellow. This footage was recorded 3 months ago. Ventress's voice accompanied the image. In the Senate sublevels, in chambers that don't officially exist. Watch carefully. The holographic Palpatine raised his hands, and violet lightning erupted from his fingertips, unmistakable Sith Force lightning. The bolt struck a training droid, reducing it to molten slag. "Impressive, my lord," a second voice said, and Count Dooku stepped into frame. The former Jedi bowed deeply. "Your mastery grows with each session." "As it must, Lord Tyrannus," Palpatine replied, his voice distorted, darker. "The Jedi grow suspicious. Skywalker especially. His connection to me strengthens, but his loyalty to the Order remains problematic." Anakin's face had gone white. "No. That's not, it can't be. The deception is complex," holographic Dooku continued. "Maintaining two identities across years of war. You're certain the Jedi cannot sense your true nature? The dark side clouds everything, old friend. They see only what I allow them to see, a politician burdened by war, reluctantly accepting powers to save the Republic." Palpatine's smile was predatory. "When the time comes, when I've accumulated sufficient authority and isolated the Jedi Council from their support structures, I will transform this Republic into the first Galactic Empire. And you, Lord Tyrannus, will be remembered as the architect of the Separatist crisis that made it all possible." The hologram flickered. Another scene, Palpatine and Dooku reviewing tactical displays. "The clone army proceeds as planned?" Palpatine asked. "The Kaminoans remain ignorant of the inhibitor chip's true purpose," Dooku confirmed. "When you activate Order 66, every clone trooper will turn on their Jedi commander simultaneously. The Jedi Order will be destroyed in a single coordinated strike." "Excellent. And the Separatist leadership? They believe they're fighting for independence. They don't realize they're simply playing their role in your grand design, creating chaos sufficient to justify emergency measures, exhausting the Republic's resources, turning public opinion against the Jedi." Dooku hesitated. "Though I confess, Master, I sometimes wonder if there wasn't another way. If the Jedi might have been reformed rather than destroyed." Palpatine's laugh was cold. "Sentiment, Lord Tyrannus. The Jedi are a failed experiment, 1,000 generations of stagnation masquerading as wisdom. They must be eradicated for the Sith to rise. You agreed to this when you became my apprentice." "Of course, Master. Forgive my doubt." The hologram shifted to a third scene, more recent, based on Palpatine's appearance. "The anomaly concerns me," Palpatine said, staring at a tactical display showing Christophsis. "This Superman exists outside the Force. Outside my vision. He's an unpredictable variable in a plan that requires absolute control. Shall I eliminate him?" Dooku offered. "No. Not yet. He could still prove useful. His power is considerable. If properly directed, he could accelerate the Republic's military victories. Making the emergency powers I've accumulated seem more justified. Or he could be turned, corrupted, made into a weapon that ensures no threat can challenge my empire once it's established. And if he cannot be controlled?" Palpatine's expression turned contemplative. "Then he becomes a common enemy, a being so powerful that Republic and Separatist must unite against him, cementing my authority as the only leader capable of coordinating that defense. Either way, I win." The hologram ended. Silence filled the briefing room like a physical weight. Anakin stood frozen, his face cycling through disbelief, horror, and rage. "That's not real. It can't be real. The Chancellor is, he's been a friend to the Jedi. He's helped me personally. He wouldn't. Breathe, Anakin. Obi-Wan's voice was steady, but his hands trembled slightly. This could still be fabricated. Sophisticated forgery meant to. It's real, Admiral Yularen said quietly. Everyone turned to stare at the naval officer. I've analyzed Separatist intelligence for 3 years. I know their fabrication techniques, their propaganda patterns. This, he gestured at the projector. This is authentic footage. The lighting signatures match Senate sublevel architecture. The holographic distortion patterns are consistent with covert recording equipment. And the body language, the speech patterns, he swallowed hard. That's Chancellor Palpatine. The real Palpatine. Not an impersonator. You're suggesting, Obi-Wan said carefully, that the Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic is secretly a Sith Lord. That he's been orchestrating both sides of this war. That everything, every battle, every casualty, every emergency power granted, has been part of an elaborate plan to destroy the Jedi and transform the Republic into a Sith Empire. I'm suggesting, Yularen replied, that the evidence supports that conclusion. Sir. Anakin's lightsaber was in his hand, ignited, blue blade humming. We go to the Jedi Council. Right now. We show them this evidence and what? Superman interrupted. They arrest Palpatine based on a data chip provided by a Sith assassin. Anakin, think. If Palpatine truly is this Darth Sidious, he's been hiding it from the entire Jedi Council for years. He has contingencies. Backup plans. The moment you move against him openly, he'll activate whatever endgame he's prepared. Then what do you suggest? Obi-Wan asked. We can't simply allow a Sith Lord to control the Republic. We verify, Superman said. Independently. Find corroborating evidence that doesn't rely on Ventress's chip. And we figure out what Order 66 means, this contingency that supposedly turns clone troopers against Jedi. Rex's voice crackled over the room's intercom. General Skywalker. Sorry to interrupt, but we've got an urgent situation. The Chancellor has requested your immediate presence on Coruscant. Private meeting. Just you. Every eye in the room fixed on Anakin. Don't go, Obi-Wan said immediately. If Palpatine suspects we know. If I refuse a direct summons, he'll definitely suspect something. Anakin's knuckles were white around his lightsaber hilt. I have to go. Act normal. Find out if, his voice cracked slightly. Find out if my friend is actually a monster. Then you don't go alone, Superman said. I'll accompany you to Coruscant. Not visibly, I'll stay out of sight. But close enough to intervene if this is a trap. The Chancellor will sense Force-enhanced surveillance, Obi-Wan warned. Good thing I'm not Force-sensitive, then. Superman's expression was grim. If Palpatine is this Darth Sidious, he can't detect me the way he'd detect a Jedi. I'm literally invisible to his Force senses. Obi-Wan considered this, then nodded slowly. It's risky. But less risky than sending Anakin alone. Admiral, how quickly can we reach Coruscant? 6 hours via hyperspace, Yularen replied. Make it 4. And encrypt all communications. If Palpatine has access to our standard channels. He has access to everything, Anakin said bitterly. Every tactical report. Every casualty list. Every operation we've run for 3 years. He's been watching us fight his war while pretending to be our ally. We don't know that for certain yet, Obi-Wan cautioned, though his tone suggested he believed it. Master Yoda must be informed. Carefully. Through channels even a Sith Lord couldn't monitor. I'll contact him personally, Obi-Wan decided. Using old Jedi cipher codes from before the war. If anyone can confirm or deny Palpatine's connection to the Sith, it's Master Yoda. As the briefing broke up, Superman caught Anakin's arm. The hologram mentioned you specifically. Said Palpatine has been cultivating a connection with you. If that's true, then I've been a fool. Anakin's voice was raw. I trusted him. Confided in him. Told him things I didn't tell the Council. He was there when Obi-Wan wasn't, when the Order felt restrictive and, he stopped himself. If he's been manipulating me all this time, then you're not responsible for his manipulation, Superman said firmly. Predators target vulnerabilities. That's what makes them predators. The question now is what you do with the truth. I confront him. Demand answers. No. You gather evidence. You protect yourself and the people you care about. Then you act from a position of strength, not emotion. Superman met Anakin's eyes. I've faced corrupt leaders before. Beings who wrap themselves in legitimacy while rotting from within. The ones who survive are the ones who document everything, build cases, and strike when the enemy can't escape or deny. Anakin was silent for a long moment. Then, you sound like you're speaking from experience. I am. On my world, I couldn't just punch every problem. Sometimes the villains wore suits and sat in offices and had legal authority. Superman's expression darkened with memory. Sometimes the hardest battles are against enemies who hide behind laws they wrote themselves. And how did you beat them? By being more patient than they expected. More thorough. More willing to play the long game. Superman's hand gripped Anakin's shoulder. And by remembering that anger makes you predictable. If Palpatine has been grooming you for years, he knows exactly how you'll react to betrayal. Don't give him that satisfaction. Anakin took a shuddering breath, forcing his rage into something more controlled. Okay. I play it cool. Act like nothing's changed. And you watch from the shadows in case he tries to kill me. Exactly. One question. Anakin's mechanical hand clenched. If he does try to kill me, if this really is a Sith Lord we're dealing with, are you prepared to fight him? To potentially kill a democratically elected leader? Superman's eyes glowed faintly red. If he attacks you with Sith lightning, he's not a democratically elected leader anymore. He's a threat to innocent lives. And yes, I'm prepared to stop him. Even if it means choosing the Republic's side. Becoming part of this war. I'm not choosing the Republic or the Separatists, Superman corrected. I'm choosing to stop a puppet master who's been playing both sides. If that happens to benefit the Republic, so be it. But my loyalty is to the truth and the people suffering because of these lies, not to any government. Anakin nodded slowly. Then I guess we're going to Coruscant. 6 hours later, the Resolute dropped out of hyperspace near Coruscant, jewel of the core worlds, city planet that housed trillions, heart of galactic civilization. Superman floated in the ship's observation bay, staring at the massive urban sprawl that covered every centimeter of the planet's surface. Impressive, isn't it? Obi-Wan stood beside him, hands clasped behind his back. 5,000 levels of city. Millennia of history. The Senate, the Jedi Temple, the repositories of galactic knowledge. All here. And somewhere down there, possibly the most dangerous being in your galaxy, Superman added. Yes. That too. Obi-Wan's expression was troubled. I contacted Master Yoda using the old ciphers. He's reviewing the hologram now. But he said something curious, that the Force has been clouded for years. That the Jedi Council has felt their precognitive abilities fading without understanding why. Dark side interference? Possibly. Or a Sith Lord of unprecedented power systematically blinding the Jedi to his presence. Obi-Wan turned to Superman. You're really going to shadow Anakin? Through one of the most secure buildings in the galaxy? Your security is designed to stop people who rely on doors, elevators, and conventional physics, Superman pointed out. I can fly through walls if necessary. Phase my vision through barriers. Hear conversations from kilometers away. Palpatine's security won't detect me because it's not built to detect someone like me. Assuming he hasn't prepared defenses specifically for you. That's why I'll be careful. Superman moved toward the hangar bay. Anakin leaves in 30 minutes for his meeting. I'll follow at a distance, position myself in the Senate building's superstructure. If anything goes wrong, you intervene, Obi-Wan finished. And either save my former Padawan or start a constitutional crisis by attacking the Supreme Chancellor. Either way, the truth comes out. Obi-Wan looked like he wanted to argue further but recognized the futility. May the Force be with you, Kal-El. Though I suppose that blessing means nothing to someone outside its reach. Superman smiled slightly. Maybe the Force works in ways you don't fully understand. Maybe it brought me here specifically for this moment. That, Obi-Wan said quietly, is a disturbing thought. Because it would mean the Force anticipated a Sith Lord controlling the galaxy and sent someone beyond its influence to stop him. What does it say about us, about the Jedi? If we required outside intervention? It says you're not infallible. That even the most well-intentioned guardians can be deceived. Superman headed for the hangar. There's no shame in needing help, Master Kenobi. Only in refusing it when it's offered. He launched himself into space, a blue and red streak descending toward Coruscant's glittering surface, toward the Senate district where the most powerful man in the galaxy waited. And in his private office, staring at security feeds that showed Anakin Skywalker's approaching transport, Darth Sidious felt a disturbance in the Force. Not the Kryptonian, he remained invisible to Force senses, an infuriating blank spot in the Sith Lord's otherwise omniscient perception of galactic events. No, the disturbance was Anakin himself. His emotional state had shifted. The usual turmoil was there, fear, anger, attachment, all the qualities that made him vulnerable to corruption. But underneath, something new had emerged. Doubt. Not in himself, but in his relationship with the Chancellor. Sidious's yellow eyes narrowed. So, young Skywalker has learned something. The question is what, and how much? He pulled up additional security feeds, watching Obi-Wan Kenobi's encrypted communications, analyzing the Resolute's sudden priority departure from Duro. Something had changed. Some variable had entered the equation. The Kryptonian. It had to be. No matter, Sidious murmured, his hands steepling beneath his chin. Let them suspect. Let them gather their evidence. I've been orchestrating this dance for decades. A few more moves, and the game concludes exactly as I've foreseen. His comlink chimed. Anakin Skywalker's transport had landed. Sidious composed his expression into grandfatherly warmth, banishing the yellow from his eyes, becoming Chancellor Palpatine once more. Show him in, he instructed his protocol droid. The pieces were moving toward checkmate. And high above in the Senate building's architectural skeleton. Invisible to cameras and Force senses alike, Superman waited in the shadows, his enhanced hearing tracking every word, his eyes glowing faintly red in preparation for what might come. The confrontation was about to begin. The Supreme Chancellor's office occupied the apex of the Senate building, a position that offered panoramic views of Coruscant's endless cityscape. Holographic art adorned the walls, priceless sculptures from 1,000 worlds decorated alcoves, and the scent of Naboyan incense drifted through the air. Everything designed to project power wrapped in culture, authority softened by refinement. Anakin Skywalker stood in the center of that carefully constructed illusion, trying to see the monster beneath the mask. Anakin, my boy. Palpatine rose from behind his desk, arms spread in welcome. It's been too long. The war keeps you away from Coruscant far too often. Come, sit. Tell me about Duro. I heard you performed admirably during the Separatist offensive. Superman, pressed flat against the exterior wall 3 levels above, used his X-ray vision to observe through the office's reinforced ceiling. His heart rate remained steady, his breathing controlled. Every sense focused on the scene below. Anakin moved to the offered chair stiffly. Actually, Chancellor, it wasn't me who stopped the bombardment. It was the newcomer, Kal-El. He disabled an entire Separatist fleet single-handedly. Palpatine's smile didn't waver, but Superman's enhanced hearing detected a fractional change in his heartbeat. Elevated. Stressed. Remarkable, the Chancellor said smoothly. This Superman continues to prove himself valuable to the Republic. Though I worry about his independence. Such power without proper oversight is concerning. Is that why you summoned me? To discuss Superman? In part. But mostly, Palpatine moved to pour 2 glasses of Alderaanian wine. I wanted to check on you personally, Anakin. You seem troubled. More so than usual. The war weighs heavily on one's spirit, I know. But you can speak freely here. This office has always been a place where you could voice concerns the Jedi Council might not understand. The manipulation was elegant. Superman recognized the technique. Position yourself as the confidant, the understanding mentor who doesn't judge. Make the target feel special, heard, valued. Classic grooming behavior. Anakin accepted the wine glass but didn't drink. Chancellor, I need to ask you something. And I need you to answer honestly. Of course. We've always been honest with each other. Have we? Anakin's hand trembled slightly around the glass. Because I'm starting to wonder how much of our friendship has been real and how much has been strategic. Palpatine's expression shifted to concern. Anakin, what's brought this on? Has someone been poisoning your mind against me? Obi-Wan, perhaps. Or Master Windu, he's never trusted my relationship with you. It's not about trust. Anakin set down the glass carefully. It's about truth. Tell me, Chancellor, are you a Sith Lord? The silence that followed was absolute. Palpatine didn't move. Didn't blink. His face remained perfectly composed, shocked, hurt, confused. The performance was flawless. Anakin, that's an extraordinary accusation. Where could you possibly have gotten such a... Just answer the question. Anakin's voice hardened. Yes or no? Are you Darth Sidious? Superman tensed, preparing to crash through the ceiling if lightning erupted or lightsabers ignited. But Palpatine simply sat down heavily, as if the accusation had physically wounded him. I don't know what propaganda you've been exposed to, my young friend, but I assure you. I've seen footage, Anakin interrupted. Of you using Force lightning. Of you meeting with Count Dooku, calling him Lord Tyrannus. Discussing plans to destroy the Jedi Order and transform the Republic into an empire. Palpatine was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, his expression changed. The hurt vanished. The warmth evaporated. What remained was ancient, cold, and utterly in control. I see, he said quietly. Ventress's theft. I wondered when that would surface. The mask was off. Then it's true, Anakin whispered. Everything. The war, the emergency powers, the manipulation, all of it. Not manipulation, Anakin. Vision. Palpatine stood, and suddenly the office felt smaller, as if his presence expanded to fill every corner. The ability to see what must be done and the courage to do it. Yes, I am Darth Sidious. Yes, I orchestrated this war. And yes, I've been preparing you, grooming you, if you prefer that term, to stand at my side when the time comes. Anakin's lightsaber ignited, blue blade humming. You murdered millions. Used clone soldiers as slaves. Betrayed everything the Republic stands for. The Republic. Palpatine's laugh was sharp. A corrupt, bloated bureaucracy that couldn't make a decision if its survival depended on it. Which, incidentally, it did. The Republic was dying, Anakin. I'm simply ensuring it transforms into something stronger, more efficient. An empire that can actually protect its citizens instead of debating while they suffer. By destroying the Jedi. By eliminating an institution that outlived its usefulness. Palpatine circled slowly, hands clasped behind his back. The Jedi claim to serve the Force, but they've become dogmatic, rigid, blind to anything that challenges their narrow philosophy. They preach compassion while forbidding attachment. They speak of peace while serving as military generals. They're hypocrites, Anakin. And you know it. You felt the Order's restrictions chafing against your true nature since you were a child. Superman watched Anakin's expression, the conflict playing across his features. Rage at the betrayal. But also recognition. Palpatine was articulating doubts Anakin had harbored for years. I've taught you things the Jedi never would. Palpatine continued. I've valued your opinions when the Council dismissed them. I've seen your potential while they've only seen a problem to be contained. Tell me, Anakin, who has been the better mentor? The Order that constantly doubts you, or the friend who has always believed in your greatness? Don't. Anakin's voice shook. Don't try to twist this. You're a monster who's been manipulating me since I was 9 years old. I've been preparing you, Palpatine corrected. For a role only you can fill. The Jedi will resist the Empire's formation. They'll try to overthrow legitimate government, brand themselves as freedom fighters while actually serving their own obsolete ideology. When that happens, I'll need someone powerful enough to stop them. Someone who understands both the Jedi way and the necessity of what must be done. You want me to kill Jedi? Anakin's lightsaber wavered. My friends. My teachers. I want you to save the galaxy from sliding back into chaos. Palpatine's voice dropped, becoming almost hypnotic. The dark side isn't evil, Anakin. It's simply power. The Jedi fear it because it reveals their weakness, their inability to accept that sometimes, to create order, you must embrace strength without apology. You've tasted that power. When you've been angry, when you've let your passion fuel your abilities. You know how much stronger you become. Superman heard Anakin's heartbeat accelerating. Saw his grip on the lightsaber loosening fractionally. He's considering it, Superman realized with horror. This Sith Lord knows exactly which psychological buttons to push. Think of Padme, Palpatine said softly, and Anakin flinched at the name. Yes, I know about your secret marriage. About your love for the Senator. The Jedi would force you to give her up if they discovered the truth. They'd brand you as compromised, possibly expel you from the Order. But I would never ask you to choose between love and duty. Under my empire, you could have both. Power and attachment. Purpose and passion. You're offering me everything the Jedi forbid, Anakin said slowly. I'm offering you freedom from their chains. Palpatine extended his hand. Join me, Anakin. Help me build something better than this failing republic. Together, we can bring true peace and security to the galaxy. Superman prepared to move. The moment Anakin accepted that hand. But Anakin's lightsaber snapped up, its blue blade stopping centimeters from Palpatine's throat. No, the young Jedi said, his voice steadying. You're right that the Jedi Order has problems. That the Republic is flawed. But your solution, war, manipulation, tyranny dressed up as order, that's not strength. It's the choice of someone who's too weak to build something real. Someone who'd rather tear down than construct. Palpatine's expression went cold. Disappointing. I'd hoped you'd see reason. But I suppose even I can't overcome years of Jedi indoctrination. His voice dropped to a hiss. You realize what happens now. You're threatening the Supreme Chancellor. In the eyes of the law, you're committing treason. My security forces will respond. You'll be branded a rogue Jedi. And everything you care about, your position, your secret wife, your future, will burn. Maybe. But at least I'll have my integrity. Anakin reached for his comlink. Master Windu, I need the council at the Chancellor's office immediately. I have proof that Palpatine moved with impossible speed. Force lightning erupted from his fingertips, not the controlled demonstration from the hologram but raw, murderous power. The violet energy slammed into Anakin, throwing him across the room. His lightsaber clattered away. His body convulsed as electricity coursed through him. Superman didn't hesitate. He crashed through the reinforced ceiling like it was paper, debris and durasteel raining down as he dropped into the office. His eyes blazed red, heat vision lancing toward Palpatine. The Sith Lord spun, lightning redirecting from Anakin to Superman. The energy struck the Kryptonian's chest and did nothing. Electricity crackled harmlessly across Superman's suit, dissipating into the air. His Kryptonian biology, evolved under a red sun and supercharged by yellow solar radiation, simply absorbed and dispersed the electrical assault that would have killed any normal being. Palpatine's yellow eyes widened fractionally. Fascinating. The Force truly cannot touch you. And your lightning can't hurt me. Superman advanced, fists clenched. This ends now, Sidious. You're under arrest for war crimes, conspiracy, and attempted murder of a Jedi Knight. Under arrest? Palpatine's laugh was sharp. By whose authority? You're not a Republic citizen. Not a Jedi. Not even from this galaxy. You have no legal standing whatsoever. I have the authority of someone stopping a murderer. Superman's heat vision intensified, twin beams forcing Palpatine back. You can come peacefully, or I can make you come. Your choice. Palpatine's response was to blast the office windows with the Force, shattering transparisteel and opening the room to Coruscant's atmosphere. Wind howled through the breach. Holographic art tumbled out into 3,000 meters of open air. You're fast, Kryptonian. Strong. Durable. But you're in my city now. My world. Palpatine gestured, and suddenly the entire Senate building shuddered. Structural supports groaned. How many thousands die if this building collapses? How many civilians caught in falling debris? Will you save them, or pursue me? He leaped through the shattered window, his dark robes billowing as he plummeted toward the traffic-choked skylanes below. Superman spun toward Anakin, who was struggling to rise. Can you move? Go. Anakin gasped. Don't let him escape. I'll contact the Council. Superman wanted to argue, to stay and ensure Anakin wasn't critically injured. But Palpatine was already disappearing into Coruscant's urban maze, and letting a Sith Lord with knowledge of Order 66 run free was unacceptable. He dove through the broken window in pursuit. Coruscant's skylanes were rivers of traffic, speeders, transports, cargo haulers moving in precisely choreographed patterns across hundreds of vertical levels. Palpatine had vanished into that chaos, cloaking himself somehow despite Superman's enhanced vision. He's using the Force to hide, Superman realized. Bending light or perception or... A massive explosion erupted 3 levels down. A public transport, suddenly erupting in flames, its passengers screaming as the vehicle plummeted toward the lower levels. Superman caught it with seconds to spare, his strength easily arresting its fall. He set it down gently on a landing platform, then immediately shot upward. Where another explosion tore through a residential tower. Structural supports failed. Dozens of apartments began sliding into empty air. Superman braced the collapsing structure, heat vision welding support beams, freeze breath stabilizing burning sections. But it took precious minutes. Minutes Palpatine used to put distance between them. When Superman finally resumed pursuit, he found himself in Coruscant's industrial sector, massive factories and processing plants that operated continuously to feed the city planet's trillions. The area was darker, less monitored, perfect for someone trying to disappear. You're quite the hero, aren't you? Palpatine's voice echoed from somewhere in the metallic labyrinth. Saving those people instead of pursuing me. Admirable. And exploitable. Show yourself, Superman demanded, scanning with every visual spectrum he possessed. Why? So you can attempt to arrest me again? I think not. Something massive groaned, industrial machinery activating. You came to my galaxy, Kal-El, inserted yourself into conflicts you don't understand. And now you'll learn why interfering in Sith business has consequences. The factory's main furnace roared to life. Molten metal began flowing through massive channels. And throughout the complex, hidden explosives detonated, collapsing sections, trapping workers, creating a dozen simultaneous emergencies. Choose, Kryptonian, Palpatine's voice mocked. Save the workers, or capture me. You can't do both. And while you play hero, I disappear into a city of trillions, where your enhanced senses mean nothing against someone who can cloud minds and hide in plain sight. Superman's fists clenched. The Sith Lord had read him perfectly, knew his heroic instincts would override tactical considerations. Knew he couldn't abandon people in immediate danger to chase someone who'd already escaped. This isn't over, Superman growled. No, Palpatine agreed, his voice fading. It's only beginning. You've exposed me, yes. But you've also initiated the endgame. Order 66 will proceed ahead of schedule. The Jedi will fall. The Empire will rise. And you, outsider, will watch helplessly as a galaxy you barely understand transforms into something you cannot prevent. Silence. Superman scanned desperately, but Palpatine was gone. Truly gone, vanished into Coruscant's endless population. Around him, trapped workers screamed for help. He went to work saving them, each rescue another victory for Palpatine's escape. And across Coruscant, in a dozen hidden locations, sleeper agents activated. Contingency plans set in motion years ago began executing. Messages encrypted with Sith codes flashed through military channels. The clone's inhibitor chips received a signal. Not Order 66, not yet. But a preliminary activation, a test to ensure the systems functioned. Throughout the Grand Army of the Republic, millions of soldiers felt a brief moment of disorientation. Then it passed, leaving no memory but a subtle change in their neural architecture. The trap was set. The galaxy would burn. And Darth Sidious, hidden in the shadows where he'd always thrived, smiled as his centuries-old plan finally accelerated toward its inevitable conclusion. The Jedi Temple had stood for 1,000 years as a symbol of peace, wisdom, and the light side of the Force. Tonight, its halls thrummed with tension that even non-Force sensitives could feel, a pressure building like atmospheric conditions before a storm. Superman arrived to find the temple's main entrance guarded by clone troopers in full combat gear. Their DC-15 rifles tracked his approach with mechanical precision. Halt, Commander Thayer ordered. No unauthorized entry. The temple is on lockdown. I'm with Anakin Skywalker, Superman said. I need to speak with the Jedi Council immediately. General Skywalker is inside. But our orders. Your orders don't account for a Sith Lord running free in Coruscant. Superman's eyes glowed faintly. I'm going in. You can either let me pass, or I go through that wall. Your choice. Thayer's helmet tilted fractionally, the body language of someone receiving communication through internal comms. After a moment, you're cleared. Master Windu is expecting you. The temple's interior was organized chaos. Jedi Knights conferred in urgent clusters. Padawan learners were being evacuated to secure locations. Holographic displays showed tactical data streaming from across the galaxy. The attempted arrest of Palpatine had triggered a cascade of consequences the Order was struggling to contain. Mace Windu met Superman in the council chamber. The Jedi Master's expression was carved from stone, but his hand never strayed far from his lightsaber. Anakin briefed us, Windu said without preamble. The Chancellor, Darth Sidious, escaped. You let him escape. He created a dozen simultaneous emergencies, Superman replied, refusing to be baited. Collapsing buildings. Trapped civilians. I made a choice. The wrong choice. One Sith Lord is worth more than. Don't. Superman's voice carried an edge of steel. Don't tell me civilian lives are acceptable losses in pursuit of military objectives. I've heard that argument before. It never ends well. Windu's jaw clenched, but he nodded fractionally. Forgive me. The pressure of the situation is considerable. We face an enemy who has manipulated galactic events for decades. Who commands both the Republic's political apparatus and the Separatist military. Who has compromised the very clone army we depend on for defense. Order 66, Superman said. What is it exactly? We don't know. Not completely. Windu gestured to a holographic display showing clone trooper neural architecture. But we've been analyzing the inhibitor chips since reviewing Ventress's footage. They're more sophisticated than the Kaminoans claimed, capable of receiving encrypted signals that override conscious thought. Turning clone troopers into programmable weapons. Weapons aimed at Jedi. Almost certainly. The chips could force clones to execute their Jedi commanders on command. Windu's expression was haunted. Millions of soldiers we've fought beside. Brothers in arms. Turned into assassins in an instant. Superman studied the holographic brain scans. Can the chips be removed? Theoretically. But there are 3 million clone troopers deployed across the galaxy. Even if we could remove every chip, Sidious would activate the order before we completed 10% of the procedures. And attempting mass removal would alert him to our knowledge. So you're trapped. Command an army that could turn on you at any moment, or refuse to use them and lose the military advantage keeping the Republic alive. Succinctly put. Master Yoda's voice preceded his appearance as the ancient Jedi entered the chamber, leaning heavily on his Jimmer stick. A masterpiece of manipulation, this is. Centuries in planning. And blind to it, we were. How? Superman asked. The Jedi are supposed to sense disturbances in the Force. How did a Sith Lord operate in the Senate building itself without detection? The dark side clouds everything, Yoda said sadly. Spoken that truth for years, we have. But understand its full meaning, we did not. Sidious is powerful beyond measure. His presence in the Force like a black hole, invisible not despite his power, but because of it. Collapse our perception around him, he does. See only what he allows, we do. Then how do you stop him? With difficulty, Obi-Wan Kenobi said, entering the chamber with Anakin close behind. The young Jedi looked shaken but functional, back to patches visible on his neck where Force lightning had burned. Sidious has vanished into Coruscant's population. Even with the entire Jedi Order searching, finding someone who can cloud minds and blend with crowds is nearly impossible. The Senate is in emergency session, Anakin added. Vice Chancellor Mas Amedda is claiming the attack on Palpatine was a Jedi coup attempt. That we've been radicalized by the war and are trying to overthrow democracy. Superman's fists clenched. He's turning your own government against you. It's worse than that. Obi-Wan activated another holographic display, this one showing military deployments across the galaxy. Separatist forces are withdrawing from multiple fronts. Pulling back to defensive positions. Dooku has stopped issuing offensive orders. Why would, Superman paused, understanding dawning. Because Sidious doesn't need the war anymore. He's been exposed. So he's accelerating his endgame. Precisely. The war was a tool to accumulate emergency powers and exhaust the Republic. Now that the tool's purpose is served, he's consolidating his forces. Windu's expression was grim. We estimate he'll activate Order 66 within 72 hours. Possibly sooner if he feels cornered. What's your plan? The Jedi Masters exchanged glances. The Council is divided. Obi-Wan admitted. Master Windu advocates a direct approach, mobilize all available Jedi, hunt Sidious aggressively, force confrontation before he can trigger the inhibitor chips. And the alternative? Master Yoda suggests we expose Sidious publicly, Anakin said. Broadcast Ventress's footage galaxy-wide. Let the Senate and civilian population see the truth. Turn public opinion against him before he can consolidate military control. Both approaches have merit, Yoda said. And both have terrible risks. Hunt Sidious, we do, and our Jedi are separated, vulnerable to clone betrayal. Expose him publicly, we do, and civil war erupts, Republic citizens divided between those who believe and those who deny. Chaos, either way. Exactly what a Sith Lord desires. Superman paced the council chamber, his mind racing through scenarios. On Earth, he'd faced similar situations, enemies who'd infiltrated positions of power, who'd turned public opinion against heroes, who'd weaponized institutions meant to protect people. But never on this scale. Never in a galaxy of trillions where the wrong choice could trigger genocides across thousands of worlds. There's a third option, he said slowly. One that uses my unique advantages. Every eye fixed on him. Sidious can't sense me through the Force. Can't track me the way he tracks Jedi. And I'm fast enough to reach any point on Coruscant in minutes. Superman turned to Yoda. You said he's like a black hole in the Force, invisible because of his power. But I don't rely on the Force. I rely on physical senses. If I search this city systematically, scanning with every spectrum I possess, I can find him. Coruscant has a population of 1 trillion, Obi-Wan pointed out. The logistics alone. I can scan an entire city block in seconds. Process millions of faces, heartbeats, electromagnetic signatures simultaneously. Superman's eyes began to glow. It'll take time. Hours, maybe. But I can do it. And when you find him? Windu challenged. You fought him in the Senate building. He escaped. Because he created hostage situations I had to resolve. This time, I don't engage. I mark his location, transmit coordinates to you, and maintain visual contact while Jedi response teams converge. He can't hide from me and fight multiple Jedi Masters simultaneously. Yoda's ears twitched thoughtfully. Risky, this is. But possible. More possible than our current strategies. There's another factor to consider, Anakin interjected. The clones. Even if we capture or kill Sidious, the inhibitor chips remain. Someone else could activate them. We need to address that vulnerability. I've been thinking about that, Superman said. These chips receive encrypted signals, right? Specific frequencies that trigger the override command. Correct, Windu confirmed. Then we jam them. Broadcast interference across every military frequency simultaneously. Make it impossible for any signal to reach the chips cleanly. That would cripple Republic military communications, Obi-Wan protested. Our forces rely on those channels for coordination. Better crippled communications than 3 million soldiers simultaneously executing their commanders. Superman's tone was firm. It's a temporary measure. Once Sidious is captured and the immediate threat contained, you can remove the chips surgically. The council members conferred silently. Superman assumed through the Force, that mystical connection he couldn't perceive. Finally, Yoda spoke. Agree, we do. Hunt Sidious, Superman will. Jam military frequencies, we must. And prepare Jedi strike teams for rapid deployment. His ancient eyes fixed on Superman. But understand, you must. If find Sidious you do, and Jedi cannot arrive in time, alone you will face him. A Dark Lord of the Sith, at full power, in his element. Confidence you have, but caution you need. I'll be careful, Superman promised. Careful may not be enough, Windu warned. Force lightning doesn't harm you, true. But Sidious has other abilities. Force choke. Mind control. Psychic attacks. He's fought and killed Jedi Masters. Don't underestimate him because your biology protects against one weapon. Noted. Superman moved toward the temple's exit. How long until you can implement the frequency jamming? 2 hours, Anakin said. I'll coordinate with Admiral Yularen. Route everything through encrypted Jedi channels that the clones can't access. Then in 2 hours, every clone trooper loses contact with command structures. Sidious loses his weapon. Superman paused at the threshold. One more question, Count Dooku. Where is he? Sereno, his homeworld, Obi-Wan replied. Why? Because he's been Sidious's apprentice for years. Knows his master's tactics, hiding places, contingency plans. If we're hunting Sidious, Dooku might be the best source of intelligence. Dooku won't betray his master, Windu said flatly. Maybe not willingly. But he's been manipulated just like everyone else. Used to orchestrate a war that's killed millions. Superman's expression was determined. And according to that hologram, Sidious plans to replace him eventually. The Sith rule of two, master and apprentice, until the apprentice is strong enough to kill the master. Dooku has to know he's expendable. Yoda's ears perked up. A point, that is. Sith loyalty is built on power and fear. When threatened, alliances they abandon. But dangerous, Dooku remains. Powerful. Cunning. Then I'll bring Jedi reinforcements. Superman looked at Obi-Wan. You trained under Dooku once, before he fell. Would he speak with you? Obi-Wan's expression was complicated, grief mixed with determination. Perhaps. If approached carefully. He did care for me once, in his way. But he's committed terrible atrocities in service to Sidious. I won't let sentiment blind me to that. I'm not asking you to forgive him. Just talk to him. Find out what he knows about Sidious's hiding places. Superman headed for the exit. I'll start the search pattern now. When the jamming activates, Sidious will know we're making moves. He'll either go to ground deeper or accelerate Order 66. Either way, we need to find him before he does. As Superman departed, Anakin called after him, be careful. Sidious isn't just powerful, he spent decades studying how to kill Jedi. You might be immune to Force lightning, but he'll find your weaknesses. He always does. Then I'll make sure he doesn't get the chance, Superman replied. He launched himself from the temple's landing platform, accelerating into Coruscant's night sky. The city planet spread beneath him like a circuit board of light, trillions of beings living their lives, unaware that their entire civilization teetered on the edge of transformation into tyranny. Superman activated every enhanced sense he possessed. Vision cycling through spectrums, infrared, ultraviolet, X-ray, electromagnetic. Hearing tuned to pick up heartbeats, breathing patterns, the subtle electromagnetic signatures produced by human nervous systems. He began at the Senate district, methodically scanning each building, each crowd, each individual moving through the government complex. Looking for one specific biological signature, human, approximately 60 years old, elevated adrenaline consistent with someone on the run. It would take hours. But he had hours. What he didn't have was the luxury of failure. Because somewhere in this massive city, Darth Sidious was preparing his final moves. Activating sleeper agents. Positioning assets. Preparing to press the button that would transform 3 million loyal soldiers into executioners. And when that happened, the Jedi Order, guardians of peace for 1,000 generations, would die in a single coordinated purge. Unless Superman found the puppet master first. The hunt had begun. In the industrial depths of Coruscant's lower levels, in a maintenance facility that officially didn't exist. Darth Sidious stood before a holographic communicator. Count Dooku's image flickered into view. My lord. I received your emergency signal. The Jedi know. Everything, yes. Thanks to Ventress's betrayal. Sidious's voice was cold. No matter. The plan accelerates, but it proceeds. Order 66 will activate in 48 hours. Master, the Kryptonian complicates. The Kryptonian is an irritation. Powerful, yes. But blind to the Force and therefore blind to the true nature of what's coming. Sidious's yellow eyes gleamed. I've prepared contingencies for dealing with beings of physical might. The galaxy is vast, Lord Tyrannus. It contains weapons even a Kryptonian cannot withstand. What would you have me do? Return to Coruscant. Bring your most skilled assassins. When Order 66 executes, I want the Kryptonian occupied, fighting for his life while the Jedi burn around him. By the time he realizes the true scope of what's happened, it will be far too late. Dooku bowed. It will be done, my master. The hologram vanished. Sidious smiled into the darkness. Let them hunt me. Let them jam their frequencies. Let them believe they're taking control. His hands crackled with barely restrained force lightning. They're still playing my game. And in my game, only one piece matters. He activated another communicator, this one connecting to the Kaminoan cloning facilities. Execute Protocol 66A, he commanded. All remaining clone units are to be implanted with backup activation protocols. The primary signal will be jamming resistant. And increase production of the new generation units, the ones with enhanced loyalty conditioning. Yes, Supreme Chancellor, the Kaminoan Prime Minister replied, never questioning the order. After all, Palpatine was still the legal head of the Republic. Still commanded the authority to issue military directives. Still controlled everything, even as his enemies believed they were outmaneuvering him. The Empire will rise. 16 hours into the search, Superman had scanned 7 million individuals across 200 city blocks. His eyes ached from cycling through spectrums. His enhanced hearing had filtered through billions of conversations, heartbeats, footsteps. He'd identified 300 criminals wanted by Coruscant security, stopped 2 assaults, prevented 1 suicide, and found exactly 0 Sith Lords. Palpatine had vanished like smoke. Superman hovered above the industrial sector's twilight depths, levels so far below the surface that natural sunlight never penetrated. Here, Coruscant's gleaming facades gave way to rust and decay. Factories that had operated for centuries without maintenance. Housing blocks were the desperate and forgotten scraped-out existences. The city planet's dark underbelly. His comlink crackled. Obi-Wan's voice emerged, strained, Kal-El, we have a situation. The Senate has issued a warrant for your arrest. Superman's jaw clenched. On what grounds? Assault on the Supreme Chancellor. Destruction of government property. Conspiracy to overthrow the Republic. Obi-Wan's sigh was audible even through the calm static. Vice-Chancellor Ameda is claiming you're a separatist weapon. That you infiltrated Republic space to destabilize our government. The Senate has authorized military force to detain you. They're really committing to the lie. It's more than that. Ameda has evidence, doctored, we believe, but convincing. Footage showing you meeting with Count Dooku before the attack. Intercepted communications allegedly proving you're working with the Separatists. The Senate doesn't know about Sidious's true identity. To them, you attacked their legitimate leader based on Jedi propaganda. Superman descended into the shadows between towering factory structures. The jamming worked, though. The clone inhibitor chips are blocked. For now. But it's causing chaos. Clone commanders can't coordinate with each other or receive strategic updates. Several battalions have gone silent completely. And the Separatists are exploiting the confusion, launching probing attacks across multiple sectors. Sidious's plan. Cripple our communications, then let the military situation deteriorate until the Senate demands normal operations resume. Precisely. We estimate we have 36 hours before political pressure forces us to restore standard frequencies. After that, Obi-Wan didn't need to finish the thought. After that, Order 66 became inevitable. Any luck on Sereno? Superman asked. Did Dooku provide intelligence? He refused to meet with us. Fortified his palace and activated planetary defense shields. Obi-Wan's voice carried frustration. We're debating whether to assault the system, but with clone communications disrupted, coordinating an attack is nearly impossible. Superman was about to respond when his enhanced hearing caught something, a conversation in Huttese, 3 levels down, discussing the Chancellor's special cargo being moved to the facility in Section 1427. Hold on, he told Obi-Wan, descending toward the source. He found them in a cargo bay, 2 Rodian smugglers loading sealed containers onto a modified freighter. Superman's X-ray vision penetrated the container's shielding, revealing weapons. Advanced weapons. Not standard Republic or Separatist armaments, but something else entirely. Energy signatures he didn't recognize. Technology that seemed almost Kryptonian. Superman's blood ran cold. Where are those containers going? He demanded, dropping into the bay with enough force to crack permacrete. The Rodians spun, reaching for blasters. Superman disabled both with heat vision before they could fire, precise strikes that melted their weapons without harming the wielders. Talk, he said, his voice carrying none of its usual warmth. Now. The taller Rodian's antennae quivered with terror. We're just contractors. Hired to move cargo, no questions asked. Who hired you? Some Imperial officer. Paid triple rates for discretion. Imperial? Superman's eyes narrowed. The Empire doesn't exist yet. Tell that to the guy who paid us. The Rodian gestured at the containers. Said it was preparation for the coming order, or some political nonsense. We just move boxes. Superman scanned the containers again, his enhanced vision analyzing the weapons inside. The energy signatures were definitely similar to Kryptonian technology, but not identical. As if someone had studied Kryptonian physics and attempted to reverse engineer it using this galaxy's scientific principles. Which should have been impossible. His escape pod had been destroyed when he crashed. The technology scattered across Christophsis in pieces too small to. The pod, he whispered. They salvaged my pod. Kal-El. Obi-Wan's voice crackled through the comlink. What's happening? Sidious has been studying my technology. Building weapons based on Kryptonian energy principles. Superman's fists clenched. Weapons designed to counter me specifically. That's, actually tactically brilliant, Obi-Wan admitted. Ruthless, but brilliant. Where is this cargo headed? Superman grabbed the conscious Rodian by his vest. The facility in Section 1427. Where is it? Sub-level 97. Old Republic Research Station, decommissioned 20 years ago. But it's been reactivated recently, heavy security, military traffic, the works. Superman released him. Obi-Wan, I'm investigating Section 1427. If Sidious is building weapons to counter my abilities, he's probably overseeing the project personally. That's likely a trap. Everything is a trap. That doesn't make it less worth investigating. Superman activated his super speed, the world around him slowing as his perceptions accelerated. Send Jedi backup to these coordinates. But tell them to hold position until I signal. If this is where Sidious is hiding, I don't want to spook him before we're ready. Be careful. And Kal-El? Obi-Wan's voice carried genuine concern. If he's building weapons specifically to kill you, that means he considers you his primary threat. More dangerous than the entire Jedi Order. Should I be flattered? You should be terrified. Sidious doesn't build contingencies for threats he can simply eliminate. He prepares for threats he's afraid might actually win. The comm link disconnected. Superman rocketed toward Section 1427, moving through Coruscant's industrial labyrinth at speeds that made the factories blur into abstract streams of metal and light. His mind raced alongside his body. Sidious had studied him, analyzed his abilities during their brief confrontation, and somehow, impossibly, begun manufacturing weapons based on Kryptonian physics. Which meant Superman wasn't as invulnerable here as he'd believed. Section 1427, Sublevel 97, had once been a Republic xenobiology research facility. Now it pulsed with dark energy that even Superman's non-force-sensitive perceptions could detect. A wrongness in the air, like reality itself, was bruised. He approached cautiously, using his enhanced vision to scan the complex before entering. The facility was a fortress, blast doors rated to withstand capital ship weapons, automated defense turrets, energy shields that flickered with unfamiliar frequencies. And inside, moving with purpose, approximately 50 humanoid figures in dark armor. Not clone troopers. Something else. One figure stood out. Elderly. Robed. Standing before a massive containment chamber that held. Superman's vision couldn't penetrate it. The chamber's walls blocked his X-ray vision, his electromagnetic perception, every enhanced sense. It was a blank space in his awareness, similar to how he appeared to Force users. Kryptonian technology, he realized. They're using principles from my pod to create force blocking and Superman blocking shielding. He was about to retreat, to call in Jedi support, when Count Dooku emerged from the facility's main entrance. The Sith Lord looked exhausted, his usually immaculate appearance disheveled, his silver beard unkempt. But his lightsaber was ignited, its crimson blade humming. I wondered when you'd arrive, Dooku said. Sidious predicted you'd trace the weapons shipment. He knows you, Kryptonian. Knows your heroic instincts override your tactical judgment. Where is he? Inside. Waiting. Preparing his masterpiece. Dooku's expression was complicated, determination mixed with something that might have been regret. He's going to kill you, Kal-El. Not out of malice, but necessity. You're the one variable he cannot control. The one piece that doesn't fit his perfect design. Then stop him. You know what he's planning, the genocide of the Jedi Order. Your former brothers and sisters. Obi-Wan. The people you trained with for decades. Dooku's jaw clenched. The Jedi are already dead. They died years ago when they became the Senate's lapdogs. I'm simply expediting the inevitable. You don't believe that. Superman moved closer, hands open, non-threatening. I've watched your hologram recordings. Heard the doubt in your voice. You're not a fanatic, Dooku. You're a reformer who made terrible compromises because you thought the ends justified the means. But now the means have consumed everything, and you're realizing the ends you fought for will never arrive. Poetic. Inaccurate, but poetic. Dooku's lightsaber wavered slightly. What would you have me do? Betray my master? The Jedi would never accept me back. I've committed atrocities in Sidious's name. Ordered the deaths of millions. There's no redemption for that. Maybe not. But there's stopping more deaths. There's choosing, right now, whether your legacy is the man who enabled tyranny or the man who prevented genocide. Superman's eyes met Dooku's. You're a Sith because you wanted to change a corrupt system. Sidious is a Sith because he wants absolute power. Those aren't the same thing. For a long moment, Dooku stood motionless. Then his lightsaber deactivated. I can't defeat him, the former Jedi said quietly. I'm powerful, yes. But Sidious is, beyond. Beyond anything I ever imagined when I took him as my master. The dark side flows through him like a river. Fighting him would be suicide. Then don't fight him. Just tell me what's in that containment chamber. Dooku's expression turned grim. Your death, most likely. Sidious retrieved fragments from your crashed pod. Analyzed the energy signatures. He discovered something called red sun radiation, solar emissions from your homeworld star that apparently nullify your powers. Superman's enhanced hearing picked up his own heartbeat accelerating. He synthesized red sun radiation. Not synthesized. Contained. Actual stellar matter, transported via dimensional rift at catastrophic cost. The chamber holds a sphere of condensed red sun plasma, essentially a miniature star from a red giant system. When activated, it will flood this entire sector with radiation that strips Kryptonian cells of their absorbed energy, making me as vulnerable as any normal human. Exactly. Then you die like anyone else, shot, stabbed, beaten. Unremarkable. Mortal. Dooku's voice carried something almost like pity. He's going to activate it the moment you enter the facility. Drain your powers. Then his guards, enhanced with cybernetics and combat drugs, will kill you while you're helpless. Superman processed this information with accelerating dread. Red sun radiation didn't just weaken him, it fundamentally altered his cellular structure. Under Earth's yellow sun, he was invulnerable. Under Krypton's red sun, he'd been an ordinary child. Exposure to red sun radiation would leave him defenseless. Why tell me this? Superman asked. If you're loyal to Sidious. I'm not loyal. I'm trapped. Dooku's voice cracked slightly. I wanted to reform the Republic. Instead, I've helped build an empire that will make the Republic's corruption look benign. And I'm realizing, too late, that I've become exactly what I swore to destroy, a tyrant hiding behind ideology. Then help me. Tell me how to disable the Red Sun chamber. You can't. Not without entering the facility, which triggers the activation. Dooku gestured helplessly. It's a perfect trap. Sidious designed it specifically for you, using your heroism against you. Because he knows you can't simply leave. Can't abandon this confrontation. Your nature demands you try to stop him, even when trying guarantees your death. Superman stared at the facility. Dooku was right, walking away wasn't an option. Not when Sidious was inside, preparing to execute Order 66. Not when millions of lives hung in the balance. But entering meant losing his powers. Becoming vulnerable. Likely dying. There has to be another way, he thought desperately. Some option I'm not seeing. His comlink crackled. Anakin's voice emerged, urgent. Superman, the Senate just voted emergency military powers to Vice Chancellor Ameta. He's ordering all Jedi to stand down and surrender for questioning. If we don't comply, we'll be branded traitors. Don't comply, Superman said immediately. It's a trap, another step toward Order 66. We know. But that means we're now officially fugitives. Republic forces are mobilizing against us. And without functional communications, we can't coordinate a defense. Anakin's voice carried barely controlled panic. We're losing, Kal-El, Sidious is winning. And we're running out of time. Superman looked at the facility. At Dooku, standing conflicted between his past and his terrible present. At the containment chamber that held his death. And made a decision. Dooku, he said quietly. When I enter that facility and the red sun radiation activates, how long until it completely drains my powers? Minutes. Perhaps 5, perhaps 10. Depends on your cellular saturation levels. That's enough. Superman activated his comlink. Anakin, Obi-Wan, Mace, I'm transmitting coordinates. I found Sidious. He's in section 1427, and he's prepared a trap specifically for me. I'm going to spring it. What? No. If it's a trap. It's also bait. He wants me inside that facility, away from backup, vulnerable. Which means he's there personally. Overseeing his weapon. Confident. Superman's eyes began to glow. I'm going in. I'll keep him occupied for as long as I can. But I need Jedi strike teams converging on these coordinates in exactly 10 minutes. Not sooner, he'll detect Force users and escape. Not later, I'll be dead. Kal-El, this is suicide, Obi-Wan protested. No. It's sacrifice. There's a difference. Superman turned to Dooku. You want redemption? Help the Jedi breach this facility. Get them past the defenses. And when Sidious is distracted trying to kill me, he smiled grimly. You make sure the Jedi get their shot. Dooku stared at him. Then, slowly, the former Jedi ignited his lightsaber again. But this time, he held it in a defensive position. Facing the facility. I was never good at redemption, Dooku said quietly. But perhaps I can manage atonement. Superman nodded. Then he took a breath, possibly his last with full Kryptonian powers, and flew toward the facility's entrance. Alarms shrieked. Defense turrets swiveled. Energy weapons fired, their bolts splashing harmlessly against his invulnerable skin. He crashed through the blast doors like they were paper. And inside the chamber, Darth Sidious smiled. Welcome, Kryptonian, the Sith Lord said, his hand hovering over a control console. I've been expecting you. He pressed the activation switch. The red sun sphere ignited. And Superman's powers began to die. The red sun radiation hit Superman like a physical blow. Not painful, not exactly, but profoundly wrong. The yellow sun energy that saturated every cell in his body began draining, bleeding away like water through a shattered dam. His flight faltered. He dropped the last 3 meters to the floor, landing heavily instead of gracefully. The impact jarred his knees. When was the last time an impact had jarred anything? Around him, the facility thrummed with malevolent energy. The containment sphere pulsed crimson light that painted everything the color of blood. Darth Sidious stood 20 meters away, his yellow eyes gleaming with satisfaction. Fascinating, the Sith Lord said, circling slowly. I can watch it happening. Your cellular structure destabilizing. The solar energy dissipating. You're becoming ordinary. Superman tried his heat vision. The familiar sensation of energy building behind his eyes sputtered, producing only faint warmth instead of devastating beams. His X-ray vision flickered and died. His superhearing compressed back to normal human range. He was vulnerable. Mortal. Human in every way that mattered. 5 minutes, he reminded himself. I just need to survive 5 minutes. Sidious gestured, and the guards Dooku had mentioned emerged from the shadows, 50 enhanced soldiers in black armor, weapons raised. Not blasters. Something worse. Projectile weapons that fired solid slugs designed to penetrate flesh and shatter bone. You're wondering why I'm monologuing, Sidious said, his tone conversational. Why I'm not simply killing you immediately. The truth is, Kal-El, I'm curious. You're the first being I've encountered who exists completely outside the Force. I want to understand you before you die. Understand this, Superman growled, forcing himself to his feet despite trembling legs. Even without powers, I don't quit. Admirable. Futile, but admirable. Sidious nodded to his guards. Subdue him. Non-lethally for now. I have questions. The guards advanced in perfect formation, military precision enhanced by whatever cybernetic Sidious had installed. They moved faster than normal humans, reacted with inhuman speed. But Superman had been Clark Kent before he'd been Superman. He'd trained in martial arts, learned to fight without relying solely on invulnerability. And his Kryptonian physiology, even drained of solar energy, was still slightly superior to baseline human. He ducked the first guard strike, using the soldier's momentum against him. A precise elbow to the neural cluster behind the ear, the guard dropped. Superman grabbed the falling body, using it as a shield against incoming projectile fire. Bullets punched through the dead guard's armor. Superman felt them impact, felt the body jerk with each hit. The ammunition was designed for him, for Kryptonian flesh. Probably kryptonite-based or some equivalent synthesized from his pod's fragments. Can't let even one hit me, he realized. At normal durability, those rounds would be instantly fatal. He threw the corpse at the nearest cluster of guards, bowling them over. Rolled left, coming up beside a support pillar. His enhanced strength, now barely above peak human, let him tear the metal pillar from its moorings and swing it like a bat. 3 guards went down. 4. The pillar bent, twisted, became useless. Superman dropped it and kept moving. But there were too many. And his body, unused to operating without solar energy, was tiring. His lungs burned. His muscles ached. Sweat poured down his face. How do normal humans do this? He wondered with a flash of dark humor. How do they fight knowing every hit could kill them? A guard got through his defense, delivered a stunning blow to Superman's ribs. He felt something crack, actually crack, bones breaking for the first time in decades. The pain was shocking, overwhelming. He'd forgotten what pain really felt like. Another guard struck from behind, a weighted baton across his shoulders. Superman went down, tasting blood from a split lip. Boots slammed into his ribs, his back, his head. The world became a kaleidoscope of pain and fading consciousness. Enough, Sidious commanded. The beating stopped. Pick him up. Let me see his eyes. Rough hands hauled Superman to his knees. Blood dripped from his nose, his mouth. One eye was swelling shut. His entire body screamed agony. Sidious approached, tilting Superman's chin up with one withered finger. Not so mighty now, are you? The last son of Krypton, reduced to bleeding and broken flesh. Do you finally understand? Here, in my galaxy, I am the supreme power. Not the Force. Not the Jedi. And certainly not an alien who thought his biology made him invincible. Superman spat blood. You haven't won. The Jedi are coming. Yes. I'm counting on it. Sidious smiled. Did you think this was only about killing you? Your bait, Kryptonian. Drawing the Jedi leadership to this facility, away from their temple, concentrated in one location. When they arrive to rescue you, I'll activate Order 66. 3 million clone troopers, simultaneously executing their Jedi commanders across the galaxy. And here, he gestured to his guards. My personal forces will eliminate the council members who came to save you. Frequency jamming is already being overridden by emergency Senate protocols. Vice Chancellor Ameta convinced the Senate that Jedi extremists were disrupting military communications. Standard frequencies will be restored in, Sidious checked a chronometer. Approximately 2 minutes. After that, the inhibitor chips will receive my signal, and the purge begins. Superman's enhanced hearing, now normal hearing, caught sounds from outside the facility. Lightsabers igniting. The distinctive hum of Jedi combat. Count Dooku's voice, shouting coordinates. The Jedi had arrived. Too soon, Superman realized with horror. They're early. Sidious will escape, or worse. The facility's blast doors exploded inward. Mace Windu strode through the breach, purple lightsaber blazing. Behind him, Obi-Wan, Anakin, Ki-Adi-Mundi, Shakti. The Jedi Council's most powerful warriors. Palpatine. Windu roared. In the name of the Galactic Senate and the Jedi Order, you're under arrest for treason, war crimes, and crimes against sentient life. Sidious's smile widened. Perfect timing, Master Windu. Exactly as I foresaw. He raised his hand, and Force lightning erupted, not aimed at the Jedi, but at the facility's control systems. Consoles exploded. The red sun containment sphere's field destabilized. What have you done? Obi-Wan demanded. Arranged a choice, Sidious replied calmly. The containment field will fail in 30 seconds. When it does, red sun radiation will flood the entire sector, harmless to you, but lethal to Coruscant's population. Millions will die from radiation poisoning unless someone stabilizes the sphere. Someone strong enough to physically contain stellar matter while repairs are made. Every eye turned to Superman. Who was powerless. Mortal. Barely able to stand. You calculated this, Superman gasped. Knew the Jedi would prioritize saving civilians over capturing you. I've been manipulating Force users for 40 years. Did you think I couldn't anticipate their choices? Sidious moved toward a secondary exit. So now you decide, Jedi. Pursue me and millions die. Or save the innocents and let me escape to activate Order 66 at my leisure. Either way, his laugh was cold. I win. He vanished through the exit in a swirl of dark robes. Anakin, Obi-Wan, pursue. Windu commanded. The rest of us will stabilize the containment sphere. No, Superman interrupted, forcing himself to his feet despite screaming muscles. You pursue. All of you. I'll handle the sphere. You can't, Shock T protested. Without your powers, stellar matter will incinerate you instantly. Then I'll be fast. Superman limped toward the destabilizing containment chamber. Around it, emergency systems blared warnings. Radiation levels spiking. Critical failure imminent. Kal-El, this is suicide, Obi-Wan said, his voice breaking. We can't let you. You don't let me do anything. Superman's voice carried an edge of command even the Jedi Masters recognized. I'm not your soldier. I'm not your asset. I'm someone who came to this galaxy by accident and found people worth saving. Now stop arguing and catch that Sith Lord before he murders your entire order. The Jedi hesitated, torn between their training and their compassion. It was Mace Windu who made the decision. He's right. We can mourn him later. Move out. They ran, lightsabers blazing, pursuing Sidious through the facility's labyrinthine corridors. Superman was alone. He approached the containment sphere, feeling the red sun radiation intensifying with every step. His skin, normally invulnerable, began to redden. Burn. The heat was incredible, stellar matter contained in a field that was failing catastrophically. No solar energy to recharge. No invulnerability to protect me. Just ordinary human durability against the raw fury of a red giant star. He reached the sphere as the containment field collapsed entirely. Red sun plasma erupted outward. Superman threw himself at it, not trying to stop it, but redirecting it. Using his body as a living shield, channeling the stellar matter back toward the damaged containment apparatus. His flesh seared instantly. The smell of burning tissue filled the air. Pain beyond anything he'd ever experienced consumed his awareness. But through the agony, his Kryptonian intellect, still functioning despite everything, analyzed the containment system. Saw which circuits needed reconnection. Which power conduits required emergency routing. His hands, blistering and blackening, reached into the machinery. Grabbed exposed wiring hot enough to melt durasteel. Forced connections that should have been impossible without industrial equipment. The containment field flickered. Stabilized partially. Failed again. Superman's vision was fading. His nerves were screaming. His body was dying. Just a little longer, he told himself. Just hold it together long enough to. The field stabilized. The red sun plasma collapsed back into containment, its deadly radiation contained once more. Superman collapsed beside it, his body a ruin of third-degree burns and catastrophic tissue damage. He couldn't feel his hands, couldn't feel much of anything below his neck. His breathing was shallow, labored. Each inhale brought fresh waves of agony. I did it, he thought distantly. Saved them. The millions in the sector. That's what matters. His vision tunneled. Darkness crept in from the edges. Then light. Yellow light. Coruscant sun, streaming through a breach in the facility's hull, probably damage from the Jedi's assault. The yellow solar radiation touched his dying cells. And slowly, agonizingly, began the healing process. Darth Sidious ran through the facility's service tunnels, Jedi in pursuit. But he wasn't fleeing, he was positioning. Leading them away from Superman, away from their support structures, into terrain he prepared. 2 minutes until frequency restoration, he thought. 2 minutes until Order 66 executes and 3 million clones become my executioners. He emerged in a massive chamber, one of the facility's old research halls. The pursuing Jedi spread out, surrounding him in a classic encirclement formation. Mace Windu stepped forward, lightsaber raised. It's over, Sidious. Surrender. Over. Sidious's laugh echoed through the chamber. It's only beginning. You're so focused on me that you haven't noticed the tactical situation. Obi-Wan's expression shifted to alarm. The clones. Where are they? Converging on this facility as we speak. 5 battalions. Fully armed. And Sidious checked his chronometer again. 30 seconds, their inhibitor chips reactivate. Then they receive my command. And you, Masters of the Jedi Council, die simultaneously with your brothers and sisters across the galaxy. We disabled the frequency jamming protocols, Anakin said desperately. Removed our ability to override. Yes. Which means when standard military frequencies restore automatically, as they were always programmed to do, nothing stops my signal. Sidious spread his arms. You played exactly into my hands. Fought so hard to stop Order 66 that you created the perfect conditions for its execution. The Jedi felt it then, through the Force. A disturbance. Clone troopers, thousands of them, surrounding the facility. Their presence in the Force flickering, changing. Loyalty becoming hostility. Brothers becoming executioners. No, Obi-Wan whispered. It's happening. Across the galaxy. I can feel Jedi dying. Yes. Sidious's power exploded outward, Force lightning lancing toward all 5 Jedi simultaneously. Feel their deaths. Feel the extermination of your outdated order. The galaxy is mine. The Jedi's lightsabers wove a defensive pattern, deflecting lightning. But Sidious was beyond anything they'd anticipated, power that had been hidden for decades, now unleashed without restraint. Anakin went down, lightning overwhelming his defenses. Obi-Wan screamed, trying to protect his former Padawan while maintaining his own guard. Ki-Adi-Mundi's lightsaber shorted out, the crystal shattered by electrical overload. They were losing. The Jedi Order was dying. And Darth Sidious, Dark Lord of the Sith, was finally victorious. Then the ceiling exploded. Superman descended through the breach, his body still healing, skin pink with new tissue growth. But his eyes blazed red with restored power. His cape billowed with residual heat. You forgot something, Superman said, his voice carrying across the chamber. I heal faster than you calculated. And while you were gloating, his heat vision lanced out, not at Sidious, but at the facility's main power conduit. I destroyed your backup transmitters. The facility's power died. Emergency lighting flickered on. And across Coruscant, across the galaxy, the signal that should have triggered Order 66 encountered dead transmission nodes. Scrambled frequencies. Interference Superman had spent his healing time systematically creating. The inhibitor chips received nothing. Clone troopers, poised to execute their Jedi commanders, hesitated. The override command never came. Their loyalty, their brotherhood, their individual choices reasserted themselves. Order 66 failed. Darth Sidious's expression twisted with fury. Impossible. You were dying. You should have been. I was dying, Superman interrupted, landing between Sidious and the Jedi. But I'm Kryptonian. We don't die easily. And we definitely don't die when people still need saving. His fist connected with Sidious's face. The Sith Lord flew backward, slamming into the far wall hard enough to crack reinforced durasteel. He slid down, leaving a trail of blood. That was for the clones, Superman said. For programming them as weapons. For stripping away their choice. Sidious tried to rise, force lightning crackling. Superman walked through it, his healing cells once again impervious to electrical attack. He grabbed Sidious by the throat, lifting him off the ground. This is for the billions who died in your manufactured war. He slammed Sidious into the floor. Once. Twice. The ancient Sith's bones shattered. Blood pooled around his broken body. And this, Superman's voice was quiet now, terrible in its controlled fury, is for every Jedi who died believing in a republic you corrupted. For every clone who fought loyally while you prepared their betrayal. For every innocent life your manipulation destroyed. He raised his fist for a final strike. Kal-El, wait. Obi-Wan's voice cut through the red haze. Don't kill him. We need him alive. To stand trial. To expose his crimes publicly. If you execute him now, he becomes a martyr. His followers will claim you're the true threat. Superman's fist trembled. Every instinct screamed to end this monster. To ensure he could never threaten anyone again. But Obi-Wan was right. Slowly, Superman lowered Sidious to the ground. You wanted to build an empire. You're going to spend the rest of your life watching the Republic you tried to destroy actually reform itself. Watching the Jedi you tried to exterminate rebuild stronger than before. You don't get to be a martyr. You get to be a footnote. A failure. Sidious's yellow eyes blazed with impotent rage. You've won nothing. The Republic will still fall. Corruption will still consume it. You've only delayed. Superman's fist moved faster than the Sith Lord could react, delivering a precise strike to the temple that rendered Sidious unconscious. He talks too much, Superman said. Around them, clone troopers were entering the facility, but not attacking. Their inhibitor chips had received the overload signal Superman had engineered. Not destructive, but enough to fry the reception circuits permanently. They were free. Truly free. For the first time since their creation, able to choose their own paths. Commander Rex approached, his helmet removed, his face showing confusion and relief in equal measure. General Skywalker. What happened? I felt something in my head. Then it was gone. Your inhibitor chip, Anakin explained gently. It's been permanently disabled. You're free, Rex. All of you are free. The clone troopers looked at each other. Processing what freedom meant. Some smiled. Others wept. All stood straighter, as if shedding invisible chains. Mace Windu surveyed the scene, Sidious unconscious. The containment sphere stabilized, Order 66 failed, the clones liberated. I don't know how to feel about this. We won. But it's not a Jedi victory. It's what happens when you accept help from outside your traditions, Obi-Wan finished. He turned to Superman. Thank you. Truly. Without you, the Jedi Order would have died today. The Republic would have fallen to tyranny. You saved us all. Superman managed a tired smile. I just did what anyone with power and a conscience should do. Protected people who couldn't protect themselves. Isn't that what heroes are for? Heroes, Yoda's voice echoed through the chamber. The ancient master approached slowly, leaning on his jimmer stick. Yes. A hero, you are. But more than that. A reminder, you have been. That even guardians need guarding sometimes. That the forces will work in mysterious ways, sometimes through those who exist beyond its reach. He bowed slightly to Superman. A Jedi Master, acknowledging someone outside their order as an equal. What happens now? Anakin asked. The Senate still believes we tried to overthrow the government. Half the galaxy probably thinks Superman is a separatist weapon. Now, Superman said, we do what you should have done from the beginning. We tell the truth.